This young lady went to a hotel with her lover and accidentally lost an earring, so she blamed a female cleaning staff to demand compensation. Unexpectedly, the female cleaning staff told her to show evidence and not to falsely accuse another one. The young lady angrily rushed to fight with the female cleaning staff. The two grabbed each other's hair and refused to let go. The fight only stopped when the young lady's lover stepped on the lost ring. The female cleaning staff got mad and dumped the trash bag and left in anger. This female cleaning staff's name was Baekjun. She was a girl full of life energy. She does everything as long as she earns money legitimately. During the day, Baekjun worked at a coffee shop. Then she went to a construction site to do construction work. Although it was hard, Baekjun was always happy. Tonight, she was serving at a big party. Baekjun excitedly stole a few sips of the party's wine before taking it out. Tonight's party was to launch a new business campaign for the wealthy aristocrats. After serving the upper class, Baekjun went to greet his old friend Jaehoon. Baekjun teased Jaehoon and then happily left. At this time, a phone call came to Jaehoon. It turned out to be Byun-hyuk. He was Jaehoon's best friend. In addition, Byun-hyuk was also a young tycoon. Byun-hyuk called from the business class of the plane. He seemed to be drunk. He decided to make a scene because his lover did not show up as promised. Suddenly, the plane shook violently, causing Byun-hyuk to accidentally fall on the flight attendant, his hand even touching her chest. Seeing this, the pilot rushed in to help, then used a stun gun to shoot Byun-hyuk unconscious. After landing at the airport, Byun-hyuk had to call Jaehoon to bail him out. Jaehoon went and had to bring 2 boxes of money to compensate the flight attendant. Fortunately, the flight attendant accepted and agreed to reconcile. Coincidentally, Byun-hyuk's family was holding a hotel opening ceremony today, so Byun-hyuk and Jaehoon rushed to the event venue. But how could Byun-hyuk have expected that his chairman father was already holding a golf club to welcome him back? Even though his mother stood in front of him to protect him, his father refused to let Byun-hyuk off. Byun-hyuk saw his best friend Jaehoon being beaten by his father with a baseball bat because of his mistake. That made Byun-hyuk very regretful. Byun-hyuk decided to kneel down and apologize, which surprised his father. But his father just left and said that I didn't want to see you anymore. Jaehoon also left dejectedly, leaving Byun-hyuk sitting alone. After Baekjun finished washing a lot of dishes by herself, she also went home. Jaehoon accidentally saw Baekjun sitting waiting for the bus and fell asleep from exhaustion. He intended to pick her up, but she had already left on the bus. After returning home, Jaehoon could only stand from afar and watch Baekjun before each of them went back to their own rooms. Early the next morning, when he arrived at the company, Jaehoon saw Baekjun giving out free milk at the company. Jaehoon pulled Baekjun aside and gave her an application to work at the company. He wanted to give her a stable job, but was scolded by her because Baekjun thought that Jaehoon looked down on her work. Jaehoon went to see the prosecutor and bribed him to handle the airport incident the day before. The entire conversation was recorded by Jaehoon and brought back to Byun-hyuk's brother. Byun-hyuk was spending time at the pool. Suddenly, he heard Chaeri's voice. It was the girl Byun-hyuk liked. So he immediately climbed ashore, even stole someone else's clothes to change, and chased Chaeri by the stairs. But when Byun-hyuk witnessed the scene of Chaeri making things difficult for the staff because she lost an earring, next to her was a man. Byun-hyuk couldn't believe his eyes. Byun-hyuk remembered the beautiful memories he had with Chaeri, but now she betrayed him. And the girl that Chaeri accused of stealing the earring was Baekjun. Baekjun argued back to Chaeri without fear. Then the two of them rushed to grab each other's hair. Byun-hyuk stood outside the door and saw this scene and smiled. The manager of this place tried to persuade Baekjun to apologize to Chaeri, but Baekjun dumped the trash bag, causing chaos. It turned out that the remaining earring was stuck in Chaeri's lover's foot, which made Baekjun feel very satisfied. Baekjun leisurely left, leaving Chaeri crying miserably because the earring was broken by Baekjun. Chaeri saw Byun-hyuk outside the door looking at her. She knew she couldn't take advantage of Byun-hyuk anymore, so she screamed even louder. Byun-hyuk left but really liked Baekjun. He saw her being bullied by the manager, so he immediately went to protect her. The two were kicked out of the hotel by the security guard because of that, but they also got to know each other. Byun-hyuk heard Baekjun calling his name. At this time, he knew he was in love. Byun-hyuk returned to the hotel to get his things, but because of the clothes he was wearing, the staff misunderstood and kicked him out. Even though Byun-hyuk told his true identity, no one believed him. Byun-hyuk wanders to the bus stop and meets Baekjun again. Because of Byun-hyuk, Baekjun missed the bus, so the two of them went out to eat something. Jaehoon went to the hotel and looked for Byun-hyuk, scaring the staff because they didn't believe Byun-hyuk was the son of a tycoon. Byun-hyuk went out to eat with Baekjun, but he just watched her eat and was shocked because the dishes were all made from pork. This was the first time Byun-hyuk had eaten something like this, making Baekjun laugh. Byun-hyuk heard Baekjun talk about how much money she earned in a month, which surprised him because it was so little. After eating, the two of them were about to say goodbye, but Byun-hyuk suddenly saw his image on the plane on the big screen, so he was scared and wanted to ask Baekjun a favor. The chairman was surrounded by a crowd of reporters asking about Byun-hyuk's chaos on the plane. The chairman was angry and wanted Byun-hyuk to come see him immediately. Jaehoon tried to search everywhere, but still could not find Byun-hyuk. Suddenly, Jaehoon received a phone call from his father. It reminded Jaehoon of the humiliating memories of having to clean up after after Byung-hyuk. After Jae-hoon returned home, he was bothered by Baek-jun. She wanted to ask Jae-hoon to let someone stay overnight, but Jae-hoon firmly refused. Unexpectedly, that person was Byung-hyuk, which surprised both Jae-hoon and Byung-hyuk. Byung-hyuk agreed to return home tomorrow and turn himself in if he could sleep overnight. That made Jae-hoon unable to refuse in here. Jae-hoon listened to Byung-hyuk's confession. Jae-hoon realized that Byung-hyuk also liked Baek-jun. Byung-hyuk knew he had fallen in love with Baek-jun. Jae-hoon had nightmares while sleeping, and his nightmares were Byung-hyuk's words expressing his feelings for Baek-jun. When Jae-hoon woke up, he knew it was just a dream, but he looked around and couldn't find Byung-hyuk, so he hurriedly went to look for. It turned out that Byung-hyuk had come up here to eat with Baek-jun for 5,000 a bowl. Jae-hoon immediately told Byung-hyuk to come down with the excuse of folding the blanket. At this time, the news on the phone was about Jae-hoon going to deal with the aftermath of Byung-hyuk, which made an upright person like Baek-jun feel uncomfortable. Byung-hyuk was sad to hear Baek-jun scolding him and determined to change the situation. He couldn't lose such a good daughter. The chairman was having a meeting to deal with the troubles that Byung-hyuk caused. In the middle of the shareholders' fierce argument, Byung-hyuk suddenly opened the door and walked in, wanting to turn himself in to solve everything. But all this only made the chairman's father mad and beat Byung-hyuk up. Luckily, Jae-hoon arrived in time and saved Byung-hyuk from the chairman's wrath. Baek-jun came to deliver the milk, but Jae-hoon was nowhere to be seen. It turned out that Jae-hoon was treating Byung-hyuk's wound. While the two were on their way back, Byung-hyuk saw Baek-jun being bullied. He immediately ran to help, which surprised her. Jae-hoon couldn't help but agree when he saw Byung-hyuk, but he was dragged away by Baek-jun. The two chatted in the hallway, but it didn't last long before Jae-hoon dragged Byung-hyuk away. Suddenly, Baek-jun wanted to invite Byung-hyuk to work with her. After Jae-hoon met the prosecutor and heard what he said, Jae-hoon probably knew that there was an insider in the company. Jae-hoon decided to go find Byung-hyuk's brother and tell him. Byung-hyuk was taken to the construction site by Baek-jun, and he had to do many jobs like carrying bricks or transporting sand. These jobs were not suitable for someone like him, but Byung-hyuk saw that Baek-jun was still happy and enthusiastic. That gave him more motivation to continue working. Byung-hyuk called Jae-hoon for help, but Jae-hoon was at the airport looking for the flight attendant to clarify everything. After a hard day's work, Byung-hyuk finally received a salary, but that small amount of money was just small money to him buy snacks. On the way home, he and Baek-jun chatted. The two laughed happily. They also found a dandelion and confided in each other. When Jae-hoon came home from work and saw the two of them together, he felt uncomfortable, so he immediately ran over to chase Byung-hyuk away. But when Jae-hoon heard Byung-hyuk wanted to sleep in Baek-jun's room, Jae-hoon immediately pulled Byung-hyuk back to his room. Baek-jun was very happy when she heard the two of them talking outside. Suddenly, Baek-jun received a phone call from her mother, which made her uncomfortable. After arriving home, Baek-jun realized that his best friend was sitting there drinking, and that person was none other than the stewardess on the news. The two girls were drinking and talking to each other, but Byung-hyuk was so excited that he didn't listen to Jae-hoon. He ran up to the rooftop and wanted to have a drink with Baek-jun. Unexpectedly, he met the stewardess here, making things complicated. When Byung-hyuk fell on Yeon-hee again, Byung-hyuk's mother woke up from her restless sleep and wanted to go see a fortune teller for her son. Baek-jun found out that she was deceived about everything, so he was very angry and questioned Jae-hoon and Byung-hyuk. But in the end, Yeon-hee tore up the contract and threw a pile of money in Jae-hoon's face, making him very angry. Even though Byung-hyuk tried to explain, everything was going against his plan. After taking Yeon-hee to the room to rest, Baek-jun went to start her flyer distribution job. Baek-jun read her mother's message, and it turned out that her mother just wanted to borrow money. That made her cry. Then she received a ride for hire. But unexpectedly, the conversation was with her brother, Byung-hyuk. Baek-jun overheard and knew that things were not as easy as they seemed. Byung-hyuk waited for Baek-jun all night despite the cold and heavy rain. The next morning, Jae-hoon called, and Byung-hyuk woke up. After Baek-jun returned, she decided to call her mother back, no matter what happened. Baek-jun went to the company to find Jae-hoon and told him about the conversation she overheard last night. Jae-hoon and Baek-jun knew something had happened, so they rushed to the hotel where Byung-hyuk was staying. At this time, the police had also arrived, but luckily Byung-hyuk had dyed his hair, so the police could not recognize him. Jae-hoon quickly ran up the stairs to hide Byung-hyuk while the police used the elevator. Luckily, Baek-jun disguised himself as a room service worker to help Byung-hyuk hide in a towel box to escape. Byung-hyuk took this opportunity to fulfill the agreement. He wanted Baek-jun to stay by his side during this time, because Baek-jun needed money urgently, so she agreed. But hearing these words, Jae-hoon was very angry. He could not see Baek-jun being robbed by Byung-hyuk like that. It turned out that Baek-jun needed money to treat her younger brother. Baek-jun remembered what her father said, that in this world, there are things that will not go according to one's wishes. Baek-jun accepted and took Byung-hyuk out of the room with wheelchair, but the police followed her into the elevator. Byung-hyuk farted inside, causing the police to run out. But at that moment, Byung-hyuk suddenly got a phone call, causing the police to realize that there was someone inside the cart and chase after them. The two ran into Jae-hoon's car that was waiting in the basement and escaped. But unexpectedly, the police still chased after them. The chase on the road continued. Jae-hoon cleverly thought of a way to help the two. The police stopped Jae-hoon's car to check, but there was no one there, so they had to let Jae-hoon go. It turned out that because Baek-jun was smart enough to pull Byun-hyuk onto the bus there first, they were not detected by the police. After that, Baek-jun quickly took Byun-hyuk to the construction site, and she said that this was the right place to escape. Despite Byun-hyuk's pleas, Jae-hoon returned to the company and reported the situation to Byun-hyuk's brother, but Jae-hoon was cautious and did not tell Byun-hyuk's specific address. Surprisingly, Byun-hyuk's brother decided to hold the press conference without saying a word to Jae-hoon. Byun-hyuk tried everything to get Baek-jun's attention, but failed. After Baek-jun saw Byun-hyuk sitting absent-mindedly looking out the window, she decided to take him out for lunch to regain his strength. Looking at the unfamiliar food in front of Byun-hyuk could not eat it. But when he thought about how he could sympathize with Baek-jun after eating, he mustered up the courage to put a big piece in his mouth. Unexpectedly, his taste buds exploded because the food was so delicious. At this moment, the elders in the dining room were talking about the news on TV. Notably, the person everyone was talking about was Byun-hyuk. Even though Byun-hyuk spoke up for himself, no one accepted it, and he was even scolded more. At this time, the manager came and said that the director was coming soon, so everyone would have to eat quickly. Everyone left the cafeteria, but Byun-hyuk was still sitting there thinking about what everyone had said. Baek-jun comforted him not to think too much, and then she also walked out. Jae-hoon returned to the company but saw the employees were talking excitedly. It turned out that the police officer from earlier was here. After asking for news about Byun-hyuk without any results, he left. Jae-hoon stayed angry and wished he could beat Byun-hyuk to death. At the construction site, Director Min had arrived, but he was an arrogant person who didn't care about anyone. He urged everyone to speed up the construction progress without caring about the quality of the work. This made Baek-jun very dissatisfied, so she spoke up to demand justice. Byun-hyuk was picking dandelions above. Seeing Baek-jun being bullied below, he got angry and accidentally dropped a brick on the ground. The debris hit Director Min's head, causing him to bleed and faint. Jae-hoon went to see Byun-hyuk's mother and listened to her instructions to bring the black card to Byun-hyuk to spend. At this time, Jae-hoon also received a call from the construction site to rescue Byun-hyuk. It turned out that Byun-hyuk had been accused of attempted murder by Director Min, and the police were called. But the workers there all stood up to protect Byun-hyuk, which surprised and moved Byun-hyuk. Luckily, Jae-hoon arrived and spoke up about what Director Min had done illegally. In the end, Director Min had to reconcile, and Byun-hyuk escaped the police this time. Baek-jun sadly went home and called her mother, saying that she could not earn such a large amount of money. Byun-hyuk had no choice but to get in the car and go back to the hotel with Jae-hoon, leaving Baek-jun alone, even though he didn't want. But as soon as Byun-hyuk saw the black card his mother gave him, Byun-hyuk thought of a way to make Baek-jun stop being angry. Baek-jun and colleagues were fired because of what happened just now, but they were all upright people, so they didn't care about that. At home, Byun-hyuk prepared a romantic scene to make up for Baek-jun, but he didn't know that she still had things to do. Baek-jun went to the construction company to demand justice for the others who were implicated because of her, but Director Min threatened Baek-jun with the idea of sending Byun-hyuk to the police, leaving her at a loss for what to do. Baek-jun was mercilessly chased away by them. She sadly went home. Baek-jun saw the things that Byun-hyuk had prepared for her. Baek-jun couldn't stand it and scolded him for only knowing how to do meaningless things. Byun-hyuk heard Baek-jun's scolding, which made him somewhat understand how bad he had been. After entering the house, Baek-jun slammed the door and recalled the hard times with her father. Just for money, her father devoted his whole life to Byun-hyuk's family corporation. But at the end of his life, her father was treated unfairly. Early the next morning, Baek-jun walked out the door and saw only the letter that Byun-hyuk left behind, but she didn't care and gave it to Jae-hoon. Unexpectedly, at this time, Baek-jun was shown by her best friend the most prominent news report of the day, which was that Byun-hyuk had revealed himself and appeared before the public. He would take responsibility for his actions. Byun-hyuk decided to go to the prosecutor's office to receive the investigation. The prosecutor looked puzzled when he saw him. The prosecutor didn't understand what Byun-hyuk was planning to do when there were so many reporters surrounding him. Seeing this news on TV made Byun-hyuk's brother Woo-sung feel uncomfortable. Things were not going as he had expected. Jae-hoon saw this news, and Baek-jun couldn't just stand by and immediately ran to the company. The chairman couldn't believe the news. Moreover, the shareholders also rushed in to question the chairman. It turned out that the chairman remembered what the wife said and decided to give Byun-hyuk another chance to prove himself. The prosecutor felt that Byun-hyuk's confession was no different from wanting to kill him. The prosecutor called Woo-sung but couldn't solve the problem, making him very angry. Byun-hyuk was smiling on the outside but was actually very scared. Jae-hoon quickly ran to apologize to Woo-sung. Baek-jun came to deliver milk and heard gossip about Byun-hyuk. She remembered what Yun-hee said to her. It turned out that last night Byun-hyuk came to sincerely apologize to Yun-hee, but suddenly, Baek-jun didn't understand why she was worried about Byun-hyuk. Jae-hoon was questioned by Woo-sung about Byun-hyuk's whereabouts, so Jae-hoon had to confess everything. Jae-hoon also remembered investigating the private messages, but unexpectedly they came from Woo-sung's phone. Woo-sung said that after letting Byun-hyuk take responsibility for this, he would transfer Jae-hoon to another department. These words made Jae-hoon think a the lot. While Jae-hoon was standing outside the door, looking at the reporters waiting for news, Jae-hoon walked in and met the prosecutor. It was decided that everything would proceed according to the law. But when preparing to start the prosecution, Byun-hyuk was sent 5 lawyers by his father. Seeing them made Byun-hyuk feel more secure. The interrogation went on like a joke, making both sides gradually feel helpless. That night was a long night for the 3 of them, Byun-hyuk, Jae-hoon, and Baek-jun. Byun-hyuk can go home tonight because Yeon-hee accepted the investigation and stated that the video recording of the incident was wrong. It was all an accident, so Byun-hyuk may not be charged. Jae-hoon was still upset, knowing that Byun-hyuk did these things just to prove to Baek-jun that he was not a bad person. After leaving the prosecutor's office, Byun-hyuk saw Baek-jun standing there. He ran towards her regardless, but was pulled back by the bodyguard. This was the chairman's order, so Byun-hyuk could do nothing but turn his head to look at Baek-jun regretfully. Jae-hoon walked over thinking that Baek-jun was here to take care of Byun-hyuk, so he was very upset, but he didn't expect that she was just here to pick up Yeon-hee. After returning home, Baek-jun saw the romantic scene decorated by Byun-hyuk and remembered that night. The uncles and aunts at the construction site were all very angry when Baek-jun came to tell the truth. They decided to go to the chairman's house to demand compensation. After Byun-hyuk returned home, his father did not hit him but gently chased him away. His father also made him take off all his clothes before leaving the house. At this time, Baek-jun's group was looking for Byun-hyuk's house. While Baek-jun was walking, he accidentally met Byun-hyuk, who was not wearing any clothes, but the rest of the people thought Byun-hyuk was a pervert, so they chased and beat him mercilessly. After knowing that the pervert was Byun-hyuk, they also stopped and accepted not receiving compensation. They also had to take Byun-hyuk to buy clothes because he had nothing on. Byun-hyuk's fashion sense left everyone speechless. After that, they went to eat. Even though it was cheap food, Byun-hyuk was very happy. Byun-hyuk's mother saw Byun-hyuk like that and cried non-stop. But Jae-hoon had already arrived at the villa. He heard his father recount the situation, so he was very impatient to go inside. Both the chairman and Woo-sung wanted to hear about Byun-hyuk's situation in the future. Jae-hoon had his own plans in mind, so this would definitely be fine. Baek-jun and Byun-hyuk said goodbye to each other at the bus stop, and Baek-jun went to work. Jae-hoon and his father sat down and talked together. Jae-hoon felt less tired after being comforted by his father. His father was very proud to see his grow up. At this time, Jae-hoon received a text message from Baek-jun saying that she had brought Byun-hyuk to her house, so Jae-hoon immediately wanted to go there. Unexpectedly, when he got in the car wouldn't start, making Jae-hoon feel very uneasy. After Byun-hyuk returned home with Baek-jun, he met Yeon-hee. Byun-hyuk thanked Yeon-hee and learned that Baek-jun still cared about him. At this time, Byun-hyuk also met Baek-jun's mother. From what Yeon-hee said, Byun-hyuk understood more about Baek-jun's situation. Baek-jun was handing out flyers when he received a text message from Yeon-hee that her mother had arrived. Baek-jun quickly finished her work and returned home. Her mother cooked her a full meal and apologized for making her suffer. Byun-hyuk heard this outside and felt uncomfortable. At this time, Jae-hoon returned and saw Byun-hyuk eavesdropping outside Baek-jun's house, so he pulled Byun-hyuk back. Byun-hyuk wanted to borrow money from Jae-hoon to help Baek-jun, but was refused. In the end, the two argued. Jae-hoon, despite acting strong, could only hide in the bathroom and painfully watch Baek-jun like that. At night, when he was sure that her mother was asleep, Baek-jun took out her savings book and wanted to give it to her mother. But after looking at it over and over again, she still didn't have enough money for even half of the amount needed. Baek-jun's mother lay on the bed pretending to sleep, but her heart was also aching and tormenting herself. Byun-hyuk called his mother and younger sister for help, but was rejected, so he couldn't think of any other way. Although Byun-hyuk tried to borrow money from Jae-hoon, he was unsuccessful. He had no choice but to think of a despicable plan, which was to borrow money from Chae-ri, but he did not expect that she would coldly leave him. Moreover, she did not want to give him back the bag that Byun-hyuk had given her. Baek-jun decided to withdraw the remaining money from the card to give to her mother. Although it was not much, it would at least help her mother somewhat. Woo-sung did not expect that one day his younger brother would come to borrow money. After receiving the money that Byun-hyuk gave her, Baek-jun's mother quickly left, leaving only a note. Baek-jun could not bear it anymore. She ran down to find Byun-hyuk and punched him. She could not accept being treated like that by him, but Byun-hyuk did not know what he had done wrong. Baek-jun told Byun-hyuk to never appear in front of her again. Then she gave him the money and left, surprising Jae-hoon and Byun-hyuk. But when her mother called, Baek-jun found out that the person who helped was Jae-hoon. Byun-hyuk was very surprised to hear the news, but he simply thought that it was because Jae-hoon heard his request. Byun-hyuk said he would pay the money back. Jae-hoon heard that and told Byun-hyuk to pay it back this month. Interest will be charged if payment is late. Baek-jun, who was outside the door, heard the conversation between the two and changed from being touched to being angry. It turned out that Jae-hoon was just a stingy guy after all. Byun-hyuk thought back to what his brother said. He regretted that he didn't know how to appreciate money. Baek-jun didn't know when she would be able to pay back all the money he borrowed from Jae-hoon. That night, when Baek-jun went out to work, Byun-hyuk secretly followed her to understand her better. Unexpectedly, just because he stopped Baek-jun, June, he got in the car to go to work with her without realizing it. When Byun-hyuk got there, he realized that the place was his family's company. It made him regret, but it was too late. Jae-hoon was transferred to a new department after the incident. It turned out that the 5 people who were recruited here to clean up unexpectedly met an uncouth manager. After they finished preparing, they started their cleaning work, but Byun-hyuk was able to understand what the distinction between rich and poor was like. When no one recognized Byun-hyuk, he remembered himself in the past. When he entered here, everyone had to bow, which made him nostalgic. Not only Byun-hyuk, but Jae-hoon was the same. When he moved to the new room, he was not welcomed by everyone. On the way to clean up, Baek-jun accidentally met her father's old colleague. Just a few normal greetings, but they also made her remember the old story. At noon, Baek-jun could only eat rice rolls alone in the bathroom, which made her feel a bit resentful. On this side, Byun-hyuk had flooded the toilet, so he had to go to the women's restroom to find Baek-jun. Unexpectedly, there were 2 women gossiping about Baek-jun's work here. Byun-hyuk hid in the restroom and heard everything. After that, the 2 of them solved the problem together, making Byun-hyuk really admire Baek-jun. After work, the 2 of them returned home together. Byun-hyuk saw Baek-jun tired but still tried hard, making him feel extremely sorry for her. Yeon-hee went out to eat with Baek-jun, but she said it was no problem. Baek-jun still refused to admit that Byun-hyuk liked her. In the evening, Byun-hyuk curiously asked Jae-hoon how the company cafeteria got the tickets. He wanted to give Baek-jun a decent place to eat, but things weren't that simple. Because Byun-hyuk needed an employee card to buy the meal tickets, Byun-hyuk decided to steal Jae-hoon's employee card. Early the next morning, Baek-jun went to call Byun-hyuk to go to work, but unexpectedly met Jae-hoon. She thanked him for lending money and quickly left. The president's family sat together, so Byun-hyuk's mother knew that he had someone he liked, which made her very curious. After arriving at the company, Byun-hyuk realized that Jae-hoon had taken his employee card back. While he was at a loss, a female employee took him away to clean up the pile of shredded paper. But when she finished, she didn't even glance at Byun-hyuk once, making him angry and go teach her a lesson. To make up for his mistake, she lent Byun-hyuk her employee card to buy a meal. The 2 sat in the restaurant and enjoyed their lunch, but unexpectedly, the rude manager came and chased them away. After a while of arguing, the chairman unexpectedly came here and saw Byun-hyuk in his employee uniform. What followed was a difficult escape for the 2. Byun-hyuk's brother and mother could not believe their ears when they heard this news. The chairman had a stomachache and went to the toilet, but Byun-hyuk took out a roll of toilet paper to exchange for his own benefit. In the end, the chairman had to agree with Byun-hyuk to let him continue working at the company. Moreover, all the cleaners were allowed to sit together in the company's cafeteria. Baek-jun stood on the side watching all this and felt very touched. Baek-jun remembered what Yeon-hee said, but tried to fool herself that Yeon-hee was wrong. There was no way someone like Byun-hyuk would like her. The chairman was very happy to see Byun-hyuk had grown up. The chairman even took a picture with the roll of toilet paper to keep as a souvenir. But Woo-sung did not agree with this, so he ordered Jae-hoon to chase Byun-hyuk away. But Jae-hoon, with his persuasive skills, convinced Woo-sung to let Byun-hyuk stay with him. That night after work, Baek-jun and Byun-hyuk decided to drink together. Sitting and talking together also helped the 2 understand each other better. Unexpectedly, Jae-hoon passed by and saw this scene, so he also stopped by. So Jae-hoon angrily turned his back and sat at a separate table to eat, still acting angry. After that, the 3 friends happily went home together. They realized that the empty room now had someone else moving in. That night, the 3 people with 3 different thoughts could not sleep. Baek-jun could not stop thinking about Byun-hyuk. Jae-hoon was worried that Baek-jun would be taken away by Byun-hyuk, and Byun-hyuk could not stop smiling when thinking about Baek-jun. Director Min of the construction company was drunk with the bar girls. I don't know what plan he was discussing, but his face was very scheming. On this side, I don't know what happened last night, but this morning, Baek-jun and Byun-hyuk woke up lying on the same bed. What's more, they weren't wearing any clothes and were hugging each other. Luckily, it was just Baek-jun's dream. After waking up, she still felt scared, but it was late for work, so she hurriedly prepared to go to the company. When Baek-jun went out the door, she saw Byun-hyuk waiting for her to go to work together. Baek-jun thought back to yesterday's dream, and she was embarrassed and ran away. Byun-hyuk chased after her, but didn't understand what was happening. The 2 of them standing close to each other on the crowded bus made Baek-jun a bit uncomfortable. Suddenly, the car braked suddenly, causing her to fall into Byun-hyuk's arms. Furthermore, because Baek-jun's complexion was not good, Byun-hyuk raised his hand to touch her forehead to check her temperature. This action made Baek-jun blush with embarrassment. After arriving at the company, the 2 realized that they were late for work. Unexpectedly, Director Min appeared here, and things started to get complicated. Director Min wanted to oppress the employees, but unexpectedly met the chairman's son here, which made him very angry. But Woo-sung did not expect that his ambiguous conversation with Director Min was heard by Baek-jun. When she came to find Byun-hyuk, he was diligently cleaning. When Baek-jun talked to Byun-hyuk, he saw that he trusted Woo-sung very much, so Baek-jun felt a little heartbroken. Baek-jun secretly thought what to do if Byun-hyuk knew Woo-sung's true face. But Byun-hyuk was not so stupid that he did not know that there was something wrong with Woo-sung. Director Min went to the manager. He wanted the manager to put pressure on the 5 people to voluntarily quit their jobs in secret. Unexpectedly, Bien-hyuk's mother wanted to come today to see for herself how Bien-hyuk lived. Before people were assigned to a heavy job, the manager showed no mercy and even smiled happily. It was only when the madam called for Bien-hyuk that she learned that he was assigned to clean the glass windows of the precarious building. She brought this scene to the chairman to see. The chairman was very happy to see Bien-hyuk working hard outside the glass windows and even invited the madam to take a photo with him as a souvenir. Baek-jun was very worried when he heard that Bien-hyuk was working in a dangerous place. She told Jae-hoon that this was all caused by Director Min, which made him think. After Bien-hyuk got to the ground, he heard the conversation between Baek-jun and the manager. It turned out that the manager also didn't want to force people to do such things, just need Baek-jun and Bien-hyuk their jobs. But when the manager left, Bien-hyuk came over and comforted Baek-jun that he was fine and didn't need to quit. The lady stood from afar and saw this conversation. She remembered the fortune-telling incident and felt that her son had changed. The people who were working in the warehouse were very angry. Hearing this, Bien-hyuk decided to go see his father to change their workplace. But as soon as Baek-jun got up to work, she unexpectedly fainted, causing everyone to panic. Bien-hyuk quickly took her to the hospital and called Jae-hoon. Luckily, Jae-hoon came so he could fill in Baek-jun's information. Bien-hyuk felt like he didn't know anything about her, which made him a little sad. Luckily, Baek-jun only fainted from overwork and there was nothing to worry about. But when Bien-hyuk heard Jae-hoon talking about Director Min, Bien-hyuk also knew that Woo-sung was not as good as he appeared. To verify, Bien-hyuk eavesdropped on the entire conversation between Woo-sung and Director Min. Just as Bien-hyuk thought, Jae-hoon took Baek-jun home. Even though he had given her careful instructions, he really couldn't bear to see her like this. Even though Jae-hoon tried to convince her, Baek-jun sent him home to handle it herself. When Baek-jun walked out the door, she saw Bien-hyuk sitting alone in the fresh air, so she immediately went to sit with him. It turned out that he wanted to quit his job, but when he heard her comfort him, he became much stronger. Jae-hoon bought porridge for Baek-jun when he got home. He saw Bien-hyuk hugging her and crying, and he felt uncomfortable. At this time, Yeon-hee had just returned from work. Unexpectedly, she met the new person, who moved to the next room. He didn't say anything but brought her bag up, and the two of them had a surprise greeting. Jae-hoon brought the porridge down for Yeon-hee, making her confused about what was happening. The next morning, Bien-hyuk went to Director Min's company to threaten him, making him scared and call Woo-sung. But the company was also on strike, causing the manager to not know what to do and scream miserably. On the way back, Jae-hoon received Woo-sung's instructions and met his director Seo. Jae-hoon was surprised because he was trusted and valued by Woo-sung. Jae-hoon would definitely not disappoint him. All the cleaning staff in the company went on strike to make a big protest, but Bien-hyuk knew that these things were useless. Instead, let's create a big show. All the staff went to prepare for this show. Even though Bien-hyuk received Jae-hoon's warning, he decided not to stop tomorrow's rice tasting event. All of this stemmed from his feelings for Baek-jun. The event was finally held, and the food at the party was highly appreciated by everyone. As soon as they entered, the entire hall was stunned, not understanding what was happening. After a wonderful performance that everyone was dancing to, Bien-hyuk stood up and gave a speech. He used the power of the crowd to threaten his father, forcing the chairman to agree to his conditions. In the end, all the employees were officially hired to work in the company. This made Woo-sung unhappy, and the chairman was very angry about this. After the ceremony, the chairman called Bien-hyuk to come and beat him up. The chairman could not imagine that one day his son would show off his power to him. Baek-jun, who was outside, could not accept it and ran in to stop the chairman from continuing to beat Bien-hyuk. She also took out the chairman's book of what he wrote about employees to argue, but was rejected by the chairman because Baek-jun was not an official employee. Baek-jun left angrily, but was also very worried about Bien-hyuk's injury. Jae-hoon on this side was also not comfortable being reprimanded by the boss. Just because of that event, the entire company as well as the media were in chaos. The manager was also extremely angry and took it out on the employees in the company, but everyone had great faith in Bien-hyuk's ability. Moreover, they felt sorry for Bien-hyuk when they saw how he looked after being beaten by the chairman, but no one saw Baek-jun anywhere. She went to the hospital and saw her mother playing with her younger brother. The sight of a happy family made her sad. Baek-jun decided to go to her father's resting place to give him a flower in remembrance. Then she and her father reminisced about the past. Bien-hyuk waited for a long time but still did not see Baek-jun return. He slowly walked down and saw Jae-hoon returning. Jae-hoon told Bien-hyuk to pay more attention to his work and not let it affect others. The president went to meet Director Seo for a drink. The president wanted to bring Bien-hyuk into the company to see his ability. Unexpectedly, Director Seo said that Bien-hyuk need to participate in the recruitment exam himself. Bien-hyuk had the ability, he would pass. Early the next morning, Baek-jun was also informed by Jae-hoon that the new recruitment exam had opened. Bien-hyuk was forced by the president to come and register for this recruitment exam. The president also said that if Bien-hyuk passed, he would officially sign a contract with the cleaning staff. Bien-hyuk quickly told Baek-jun and Jae-hoon about this. While Jae-hoon tried to stop Bien-hyuk from participating, Baek-jun encouraged Bien-hyuk to try his best. Bien-hyuk was also very surprised when she heard this news. She brought this matter to Woo-sung, Woo-sung, but he didn't know much about it. But she remembered what her husband had said and helped her understand his intentions. Byun-hyuk lay at home, Annie, not knowing what to do. The uncles and aunts were very surprised when they heard about Byun-hyuk's academic performance. They all felt that he had his own troubles and sympathized with him. That night, Woo-sung suddenly visited Byun-hyuk. Byun-hyuk acted coldly and took Woo-sung to visit his place. Woo-sung threw Byun-hyuk a stack of money and told him to go somewhere. Furthermore, Woo-sung affirmed that Byun-hyuk couldn't pass the exam this time, so he should give up and not be too ambitious. Byun-hyuk was very surprised when faced with this attitude of Woo-sung. Luckily, Byun-hyuk remained calm and did not show surprise, but instead happily accepted it. But no one knew that years ago, Woo-sung had caused an accident by driving and had to ask Byun-hyuk to take the blame for him. After that, Byun-hyuk provoked Woo-sung and directly confirmed that he would take the upcoming recruitment exam. Woo-sung angrily left, causing Baek-jun and Jae-hoon to guess the story. Baek-jun decided to go in to comfort Byun-hyuk, but unexpectedly, his spirit was very strong and not easily shaken. Jae-hoon chased after Woo-sung and wanted to apologize to him. Jae-hoon said that I would stop Byun-hyuk. Woo-sung did not care and said that let Byun-hyuk take the exam. Woo-sung wanted to see what Byun-hyuk could do. Baek-jun said that she would go to the exam with Byun-hyuk, but if he wanted to do that, he had to study hard. The next day, the two of them went to the bookstore together and bought a lot of books that Byun-hyuk had to memorize. Byun-hyuk studied day and night without stopping under Baek-jun's supervision. Not only that, he also received support from his colleagues, but Jae-hoon came to Baek-jun and said that no matter what, Byun-hyuk could not pass this qualifying round because Woo-sung would stop Byun-hyuk. Baek-jun was very upset with Byun-hyuk, but she could only tell Jae-hoon that she knew that Woo-sung did not simply look down on Byun-hyuk and did everything to stop him. Although Jae-hoon opposed it on the outside, Jae-hoon secretly supported Byun-hyuk to accomplish what he wanted. Yeon-hee and the new guy had another fateful encounter. He always waited for Yeon-hee to come home from work so he could help her. Yeon-hee told this story to Baek-jun while the two of them ate rice mixed with chili sauce that Baek-jun's father made. Finally, the day of the exam arrived. Everyone was worried about Byun-hyuk. Although Byun-hyuk's mother did not appear, she watched from afar through her driver. Byun-hyuk saw Baek-jun sitting in the same exam room with him, which gave him more strength. He quickly passed the first written exam to everyone's surprise. The two of them also easily passed the second round, which was the food tasting challenge. The two of them happily hugged each other to celebrate under the sad eyes of Jae-hoon not far away. Both the madam and the chairman were very happy because Byun-hyuk finally did something useful. Only Woo-sung was not happy. Finally, it was the interview round. Byun-hyuk's answer made everyone very surprised but also very satisfied. After the interview, the two were invited by the uncles and aunts to eat a 3-piece meat meal with a celebration performance. Although there was a little incident, but they still completed it. But in the end, only Baek-jun passed, while Byun-hyuk failed. But luckily, someone saw his ability, so that person gave him an exception card to help Byun-hyuk. The two happily prepared for a new journey of their own. Director Min was angry because the contract would be cancelled, and the president had to keep his promise. But in the end, Baek-jun said not to choose her, so she was still just a cleaning staff. She was happy with this decision, even though Jae-hoon was very confused as to why she did it. Byun-hyuk diligently did everything assigned to him without fear of difficulty. But this time, the mission was for Byun-hyuk to go get Director Jang's seal. Baek-jun decided to go with him, but when they arrived, an unexpected scene happened right before their eyes. Director Jang wanted to leave this world. This time, coming to get the seal at the factory was the first challenge that his superiors wanted Byun-hyuk to overcome. Baek-jun quickly ran to help Director Jang and cut the rope. Luckily, he was fine. Seeing Baek-jun panic and save people made Byun-hyuk very touched. But when they heard Byun-hyuk say where he came from, they threw water on the two of them and chased them away without mercy. Byun-hyuk didn't know what to do, so he went back to ask Jae-hoon for help, but was also harshly chased away. But when Byun-hyuk heard that Samon Company would suffer heavy losses because of this contract, he was extremely remorseful. Baek-jun returned home, but her mind was filled with the image of Director Jang today. This reminded her of her father that day. The next morning, Byun-hyuk went to the company to find Baek-jun to go to Samon with her, but he received news that she didn't go to work. It turned out that she went to Samon to find Director Jang and convinced him with her talent. Director Jang sat down and confided that in the past, when Baek-jun's father was still the head of the department, her father would help him in every way. Byun-hyuk stood outside the door and heard this conversation and was very moved. Baek-jun comforted Byun-hyuk that he was special and that she believed he would do great things. Byun-hyuk seemed to be empowered, so he immediately confessed his feelings to Baek-jun, but she couldn't give him a proper answer. Woo-sung called Director Min and Jae-hoon to have a few drinks with him. The purpose was to ask Jae-hoon about Baek-jun, but Jae-hoon said that he didn't know anything about this girl. Woo-sung knew that this girl was not ordinary. Baek-jun had a great influence on Byun-hyuk, so Woo-sung sent Jae-hoon to investigate Baek-jun. Yeon-hee came home drunk again today. She went into the wrong room without knowing. After she took off her clothes and lay still on the bed of the new neighbor, the neighbor shyly hid outside. But unexpectedly, he met Byun-hyuk and Baek-jun coming back. Baek-jun flatly refused Byun-hyuk and said that they should just be friends. Then she returned to her room. The neighbor who was eavesdropping immediately ran back to his room to hide. He was a little confused when he saw the pile of clothes Yeon-hee took off. Even though Byun-hyuk was rejected, he wasn't too sad. He told Jae-hoon that it was probably Baek-jun who was shy and wanted to be friends with him. Jae-hoon felt extremely happy when he heard these words. When Yeon-hee woke up, she didn't know where she was. She saw her neighbor sleeping on the floor. She screamed so loud that the whole building could hear. But when Yeon-hee realized she went to the wrong room, she felt extremely embarrassed. The other three people ran over and saw this scene, thinking that the neighbor and Yeon-hee were sleeping together. Even though Yeon-hee tried to explain, no one seemed to believe her. She chose to quickly return to her room. The three people who stayed behind each had their own thoughts, only to see Byun-hyuk take this opportunity to put his arm around Baek-jun's shoulder, making Jae-hoon feel uncomfortable at all. When Byun-hyuk said that he didn't want her to work too hard, so she should find a man to lean on, Baek-jun asked if Byun-hyuk hadn't brushed his teeth yet. Byun-hyuk realized he was the next one to be embarrassed, so he quickly covered his mouth. Baek-jun said goodbye to everyone and left for the company. The two of them went their separate ways, leaving Byun-hyuk behind embarrassed by his mouth. At the company, Byun-hyuk was being humiliated by his superiors. Byun-hyuk did not want to take the seal from Semin because doing so would block their way out. Byun-hyuk asked his superiors if there was a better way to renegotiate. At that moment, an employee ran in to announce that something had happened in the lobby. When everyone ran down, it turned out to be the director of Semin, who was coming to demand justice. Director Jang wanted to delay the contract for another season, but was mercilessly thrown away by the bodyguards. The people around felt sorry for Director Jang, but could do nothing but watch. Baek-jun wanted to step in to speak up for Director Jang, but was stopped by the uncles and aunts. Aunt An said to let things happen naturally. Byun-hyuk stood there watching the scene unfold before him, feeling uneasy. Byun-hyuk waited for Director Jang to be taken away, then picked up the board he left behind and left. Jae-hoon went back to his room, holding Baek-jun's information board and examining it. When Jae-hoon returned, the department head told that Byun-hyuk was causing trouble again and told Jae-hoon to go find him. Byun-hyuk was sitting and drinking with Director Jang. Director Jang felt that the president looked down on him for only sending an intern to ask for a seal. At this time, Byun-hyuk received a call from Jae-hoon telling him and Director Jang to return to the company together. The two thought that everything was settled, but when they got home, Jae-hoon forced Director Jang to stamp and sign. Byun-hyuk couldn't stand this cruelty, so he followed Jae-hoon to question him, but Byun-hyuk heard that Jae-hoon's words were not unreasonable. At this moment, Baek-jun pushed the cleaning cart over. Jae-hoon also warned her not to interfere with Byun-hyuk again. Byun-hyuk sadly returned to see Director Jang, but unexpectedly he agreed to sign. But the stamp was at the company, so Director Jang called Byun-hyuk to go back and get it. When he returned to Byun-hyuk's office, he saw Director Jang kneeling at the feet of the department head. Byun-hyuk couldn't help but feel pity and remember what Jae-hoon said. Jae-hoon was very curious about Baek-jun's family, especially her father, so he decided to find out for himself. It turned out that Baek-jun's father had made the group grow strongly, but was falsely accused of accepting bribes. After that, Baek-jun's father resigned and quit his job. Only then did Jae-hoon understand why Baek-jun hated being a full-time employee so much. But Jae-hoon did not report this to Woo-sung and only talked about Baek-jun's family, which made Woo-sung a little skeptical, but he couldn't do anything more. On the way home from work, Baek-jun saw Byun-hyuk having a headache, thinking about what to do. She went over to comfort him. Byun-hyuk understood Baek-jun's wishes, so he decided to do things his way. When Byun-hyuk got home, he saw Jae-hoon leisurely reading a book, but he couldn't blame Jae-hoon. But after asking Jae-hoon's opinion, it seemed that Byun-hyuk knew what he should do. Byun-hyuk went to find Baek-jun and asked her to go with him to Semin Company. When the two arrived, the company staff was transporting goods. Byun-hyuk went in and negotiated with Director Jang that he should take this meat to produce barbecue. Then Byun-hyuk brought the contract back to the department head and confirmed that the two sides had officially canceled the contract. Baek-jun went to call everyone to join her in working overtime at Semin Company, making everyone happy and supportive. Jae-hoon was called to Woo-sung's room to ask about Baek-jun's family, but Jae-hoon still insisted on hiding it. In the end, Jae-hoon was slapped by Woo-sung because he found Baek-jun's father's name in the newspaper. Woo-sung reminded Jae-hoon what he ultimately needed. As soon as Jae-hoon left the room, he received a notice from Byun-hyuk that he and Baek-jun were making barbecue rice together. Jae-hoon immediately ran to the place to question Byun-hyuk because doing so was plagiarism. Moreover, it became a company that competed with Gangsu, but Byun-hyuk said that he would not need Jae-hoon's help, causing Jae-hoon to leave angrily. At the door, Jae-hoon met Baek-jun again, and he said something about her father that made Baek-jun unable to bear it anymore. She decided to admit that she liked Byun-hyuk and left Jae-hoon standing there looking at her regretfully, thinking about the past. Jae-hoon looked at Byun-hyuk and Baek-jun happily together, making him extremely heartbroken. Baek-jun brought coffee for everyone, but everyone was tired and fell asleep. Baek-jun didn't see Byun-hyuk. She found him sitting outside watching the stars. The two confided in each other, making them understand each other much better. Jae-hoon went home and kept thinking about what Baek-jun had told him, not knowing that that Baekjun and Byun-hyuk had given each other a passionate kiss, ending their friendship. The two gave each other a passionate kiss because Byun-hyuk wanted to prove to Baekjun that she also had feelings for him. But unexpectedly, Baekjun said that she just wanted to be friends with him. The two clarified their relationship, then Baekjun quickly left because she wanted to hide her rising emotions. Baekjun clearly knew that she liked Byun-hyuk, but they couldn't be together. Byun-hyuk sat there, not knowing what he did wrong that made her like that. Byun-hyuk returned home. While Jae-hoon was still having a headache with the work numbers, Byun-hyuk stood behind him muttering about what had just happened. Jae-hoon knew he couldn't work in such an environment anymore, so he decided to go to bed. Even though Byun-hyuk asks to lie in bed with Jae-hoon, he couldn't. Baekjun upstairs couldn't sleep either. She understood her feelings, but that didn't mean she could accept being with Byun-hyuk. The two of them had too many differences, and she knew now wasn't the right time. That night, Byun-hyuk kept talking, causing Jae-hoon to throw a pillow at him, so he went to sleep. This morning was the day Gangsu Company's grilled meat rice product was put on the shelves, but it was also the day Byun-hyuk launched his company's product. Jae-hoon knew that, so he quickly told Byun-hyuk to give up. Unexpectedly, those words gave Byun-hyuk more strength. The cleaning team hadn't worked overtime for a long time, so everyone was yawning. Only Baekjun could see Byun-hyuk's figure everywhere. She couldn't stand it and screamed, making everyone worried. But everyone didn't understand what Byun-hyuk would do with all that rice. It turned out that Byun-hyuk came to find his uncle, the head of the supermarket chain. He wanted to ask for a small booth next to Gangsu's booth to sell his products. Byun-hyuk used the excuse that he had helped his uncle find male enhancement pills before to force his uncle to agree. In the end, Byun-hyuk returned and brought good news to everyone, making everyone happy. But when Byun-hyuk saw Baekjun leave, he had to chase after him to coax him. However, Byun-hyuk's lunchbox did not receive support from the buyers, making everyone gradually discouraged. Woo-sung saw Byun-hyuk's product and immediately invested more money in advertising for Gangsu's lunchbox. Director Seo knew about this and couldn't help but think. Byun-hyuk's team went out to eat to talk about this, but looking at Director Jung's face, he seemed to have given up. Luckily, there was a person in the previous team who was a marketing expert, so he also told them his strategic secret. Baekjun didn't hesitate to stand up and call everyone in the middle of the supermarket. With the coverage strategy, the product finally started to get more attention. Very quickly, all the products were sold out without a single box left. At noon, Baekjun asked to sit and eat with Director Seo, an old friend of her father's. She asked him why he gave the job of getting the seal to Byun-hyuk. Director Seo wanted to see how Byun-hyuk would handle what happened. The angry department head went to Byun-hyuk to question him about this. After the argument, they found out that they did it just to make a living. If they didn't do what they were told, they would be fired. They didn't expect Simon's revenue to be so high. Miss Anne was very worried when she heard this outside. She told everyone about this, so everyone was worried about Byun-hyuk. At this time, the chairman also called Byun-hyuk to his room to ask. He decided to fire Byun-hyuk, but Byun-hyuk told his father to change lifestyle, which shocked the chairman. Byun-hyuk told his father to live a life of sharing with others. Meanwhile, Woo-sung was by his side, trying to make the conflict between the two of them grow bigger. When the chairman couldn't stand it anymore, he had someone take Byun-hyuk out. Suddenly, someone ran in to announce that there was a call from the Blue House, which was the headquarters of the Republic of Korea. The president listened to the phone call nervously, but he seemed very surprised. Baekjun went to see the chef in charge of this dish at Gangsu Company to apologize to him, but the chef only wanted compensation for the loss of this incident. Baekjun immediately took out the sales data of the two products. If look at it, the market where the chef sold the product was not robbed. Moreover, after this incident, Gangsu Group was praised by the president and its stock price increased rapidly. The search keywords for the group increased, making the president very happy. If the chef sued now, he would be considered selfish and not thinking of others, which made the chef silently give in. It turns out that all of this was thanks to Baekjun reporting to a journalist. The article became hot and received a lot of attention from the public. This was also considered the happiest event the company had ever had since its establishment. Gangsu decided to renew the contract with Semen Company for this product. The whole team decided to go out to celebrate together. All of this was successful thanks to Byun-hyuk and Baekjun. Furthermore, Uncle Kim also did a good job of communicating. This was the first time Byun-hyuk had eaten pigskin, so he was very excited. Everyone else was laughing and talking happily. On the way back, the two talked together. Byun-hyuk took this opportunity to hold Baekjun's hand, but she refused. He tried to explain to her not to reject fate, but Baekjun teased him that there were mice, making the conversation between the two of them pass happily. Woo-sung called Jae-hoon over and said that Byun-hyuk receiving compliments this time was just luck. The world was unfair to him. Jae-hoon just left silently. When Jae-hoon got home, he unexpectedly saw his father there. His father brought clothes and food for Byun-hyuk, but only paid a little attention to Jae-hoon, which made him feel very sad. Jae-hoon loudly asked why father had suffered humiliation all life, but still tried his best to protect and devote himself to that family. These words made both of them remember the scene when Jae-hoon's father was wrongly accused and taken away by the police. No matter whose fault it was, Jae-hoon's father father still had to pay the price. Jae-hoon knew that his father did this job for him, which made him even angrier and felt useless and miserable. After the conversation, his father left, but neither of them felt happy. Jae-hoon also sat alone in the dark, shedding tears, thinking about his fate. Upstairs, Yeon-hee and Baek-jun were drinking and talking. Yeon-hee wanted to make sure that the embarrassing incident the other day would not be misunderstood. After asking Baek-jun for opinion, Yeon-hee knew that she had fallen in love with Jae-hoon. The Gangsu group had a meal together. Everyone was happy because the group's stock was rising rapidly thanks to Byun-hyuk. But Woo-sung's eyes towards Byun-hyuk were not very happy. Not only that, during the meal, Woo-sung also mentioned Baek-jun as the person who helped him, making the lady really curious about this girl. Woo-sung went to see Baek-jun according to the lady's words and warned her to stay away from Byun-hyuk. At this time, Baek-jun heard about her father accepting bribes and was very angry. She left quickly without knowing that Byun-hyuk outside had heard the whole conversation. He walked in and confronted Woo-sung directly without hesitation. Meanwhile, Baek-jun went to find Jae-hoon to ask clearly about her father accepting bribes. Unexpectedly, the person who confirmed the bribery certificate was Director Jang, whom she had helped. Baek-jun decided to meet Director Jang to talk directly about this. Byun-hyuk was in Woo-sung's room when he told him that when looking for a woman, they needed to find someone who was suitable for their family situation. Woo-sung said that for people like Byun-hyuk, everyone who approached them had a reason, but Byun-hyuk did not accept that and argued back, leaving Woo-sung speechless. Director Jang was very surprised to learn that Baek-jun was Baek Song-ki's daughter, but Director Jang still did not reveal the truth for a personal reason. He quickly left, leaving Baek-jun not knowing what to do with this truth. On the way home, she recalled the memories with her father. That day, to get her father back, Baek-jun used the excuse that she was hungry to eat noodles with her father. Baek-jun knew that her father was a good person, so such an absurd thing could not happen. On the way home, she met Byun-hyuk, who was also slowly walking towards her. Unexpectedly, he also said that he was hungry, and the two of them go to cook noodles together. Byun-hyuk also said that the most delicious dish was the bowl of noodles that Baek-jun cooked for him when they first met. Baek-jun knew that there must be a fate between them, so she would not give up easily but would slowly learn and walk towards him. Byun-hyuk was washing dishes with Baek-jun when he remembered the conversation with Jae-hoon and Woo-sung. No matter what, he still felt that this girl was cute, and the important thing was that he liked Baek-jun. But the video of Byun-hyuk making a mess on the plane was leaked by Woo-sung. This gave Byun-hyuk a headache. The two dishwashers accidentally touched hands. Byun-hyuk took this opportunity to hold Baek-jun's hand in embarrassment, but Baek-jun gently withdrew her hand and asked permission to return to her room, saying that she was tired. Byun-hyuk couldn't keep her, so he could only say goodbye and wish her good night. Back in her room, Baek-jun was able to express all her feelings. She called her mother and asked about her father. Her mother heard Baek-jun talking about his father accepting bribes, which made her mother very excited and tried to comfort her, but she burst into tears. At this time, the chairman and his wife were happily talking about Baek-jun. His wife wanted to thank Baek-jun somehow for helping Byun-hyuk find his life's purpose. At this moment, Woo-sung entered and said that Baek-jun was Baek Song-ki's daughter. When the president remembered that Baek Song-ki was the one who invented chili sauce, he couldn't keep calm and slammed the table and left. The president called Jae-hoon and asked about this. The president told Jae-hoon to persuade Byun-hyuk to break up with Baek-jun. To the president, Baek Song-ki was a traitor in the past. Byun-hyuk ran up early in the morning, wanting to invite Baek-jun to work with him, but seeing the sign posted outside the door, saying that she would be off work today, made him leave sadly. Byun-hyuk didn't know that inside Baek-jun was also tormented and couldn't sleep. When Byun-hyuk went to the company, he saw Baek-jun's mother standing outside. He didn't know what she came here for, so he quietly followed her. He only saw her go straight to Director Seo's room, so Byun-hyuk immediately followed and eavesdropped. Inside, Baek-jun's mother talked about her husband accepting bribes in the past to endure this company. She also warned that if Baek-jun was hurt again, she would not let the company go. Jae-hoon walked over and saw Byun-hyuk standing outside the door of Director Seo's room, so he curiously walked over. At this moment, the two people in the room also walked out with an ugly face. Jae-hoon curiously asked what the two of them had talked about, but Byun-hyuk did not want to reveal it right now. Jae-hoon said that the president wanted Byun-hyuk to cut off his relationship with Baek-jun. Jae-hoon warned Byun-hyuk again about Woo-sung. Baek-jun's mother bought food and comforted her, but her mother kept talking outside the door without her opening it. When her mother turned around and walked away, she ran out and hugged her mother, sobbing. Her mother said that there was no one better than her father in this world, so the mother told Baek-jun to trust her father. Byun-hyuk and the police neighbor saw this scene and felt sorry for Baek-jun. Byun-hyuk decided to clarify this matter. He went to the hotel swimming pool to meet Woo-sung, who was there. Byun-hyuk threatened that what happened 11 years ago might not be safe if Woo-sung kept telling the president. Byun-hyuk finished speaking and left Woo-sung standing there in shock. Baek-jun sat absent-mindedly in her room, looking at the photo she took with her father. She decided to cheer herself up and went to the refrigerator to get some food. She ate deliciously so she could continue working. Baek-jun went to Salmon Company to find Director John to ask him what what happened, but he continued to avoid her. She decided to stand here and wait until he told her the truth. But unexpectedly he decided to call Byung-hyuk to pick her up. Byung-hyuk received a phone call from Director Jang, which made him quickly run away, even though he was being scolded by the department head. Jae-hoon saw this scene and chased after him, saying that if Byung-hyuk showed up now, it would be really inconvenient. Byung-hyuk could only agree to trust Jae-hoon to pick Baek-jun up. It was already dark, but Baek-jun didn't feel tired at all. As long as everything was clear, she could wait as long as needed. Jae-hoon walked in front of Baek-jun and looked at her with pity. Even though he comforted and explained, Baek-jun still didn't change her original thoughts, so Jae-hoon could only leave disappointed. The police neighbor bought water at the supermarket, but unexpectedly bought one bottle and got another one for free. When the neighbor walked out the door, he happened to see Yeon-hee walking over. The neighbor thought for a moment and then gave Yeon-hee a bottle, but Yeon-hee tried to explain that the incident that day was just a misunderstanding. She refused the neighbor's bottle of water and made him leave. Unexpectedly, Yeon-hee's high heels got stuck in the manhole cover, making her unable to lift her feet. While she was at a loss for what to do, Jae-hoon walked over. After greeting each other, Jae-hoon saw Yeon-hee in trouble. He immediately held out his hand for her to hold on to, but this didn't help much. So Yeon decided to ask permission to sit down and take off her clogs. This made Yeon-hee blush in embarrassment. She then misunderstood that Jae-hoon wanted to invite her out, so she quickly agreed. But Jae-hoon only wanted to ask for Baek-jun's mother's contact information. Byung-hyuk sat in the office, but his mind was only thinking about Baek-jun. He decided to stand up and follow Director Seo. Baek-jun waited until Director Jang came out, but he still sent her away. She loudly said that she would come again tomorrow, even though her legs were numb. Baek-jun returned home, but unexpectedly, her mother was already there. Her mother knew that she went to Semon Company, so her mother scolded her, but Baek-jun had her own reasons. Baek-jun said that she had to find out the truth about her father in order to move forward. Baek-jun went outside to get some fresh air, but saw Jae-hoon standing there. He also advised her and said not to be stubborn anymore. The one who was hurt was not only her father. Byung-hyuk followed Director Seo to the bar. Unexpectedly, Director Jang was also sitting there. The two of them talked about how to make a decision. Director Seo decided to speak up about the incident that year and accept punishment. Byung-hyuk, who was sitting behind, heard everything. Byung-hyuk waited for Director Seo to leave, then went to see Director Jang and asked him clearly about everything he had just heard. Then on the way back, Byung-hyuk happened to see Baek-jun sitting at the convenience store drinking beer. He immediately went over and hugged her. Baek-jun realized that something was wrong and comforted Byung-hyuk, but she did not forget to remind him that it was just a hug of friendship. Byung-hyuk's mother sat in the car from afar and saw all of this, but only turned the car around. The next morning, Baek-jun still decided to go to Semon Company to find the truth about her father. Director Jang saw her and could only leave quickly to avoid her. Unexpectedly, Byung-hyuk also went straight to Director Jang's room, causing Baek-jun to chase after him. He also came here to find the truth with her. Baek-jun's business was also his business. Thanks to Byung-hyuk, Baek-jun finally knew the truth that her father did not accept bribes. At that time, Baek-jun's father came forward because he wanted to demand justice for the contractors, but was fired by his superiors. In the end, he left the company with the false accusation of accepting bribes. Not only that, Director Jang still feels very guilty to this day. When Baek-jun went out, she saw Byung-hyuk standing alone thinking, so she immediately ran over. She questioned Byung-hyuk about how he knew about it and whether he was afraid that she was taking advantage of him. But Byung-hyuk believed that she was not that kind of person. Baek-jun ran to hug him and cried. Thanks to him, she was able to hear the truth that everyone had been hiding for so long. Byung-hyuk returned to the company and saw Jae-hoon waiting for him in the lobby. Jae-hoon blamed him for not stopping everything and even continued to help Baek-jun. But Byung-hyuk decided that he would change everything. He wanted to see his father admit his mistakes and make amends. Byung-hyuk went straight to the president's office and happily walked in. He wanted to ask his father to carry out the previous reward, which was to make the people in the cleaning team official employees in the planning department with Byung-hyuk. Although the president did not want to, he could do nothing but agree. But when the chairman asked about Baek-jun, Byung-hyuk said that they were just friends. The chairman thought about the photos that Woo-sung brought him, and he was very suspicious of Byung-hyuk's words. Baek-jun and Yeon-hee sat together drinking coffee on the rooftop. Yeon-hee curiously asked Baek-jun what kind of person Jae-hoon was, which made Baek-jun guess that Yeon-hee liked Jae-hoon. Suddenly, Jae-hoon came out of nowhere, holding a bag of fried chicken, intending to invite Baek-jun to eat together, but he didn't expect Yeon-hee to be there too, so Jae-hoon found an excuse to leave. When Jae-hoon went downstairs, Jae-hoon met the neighbor and gave it to him. When Jae-hoon just lay down on the bed, he saw Byung-hyuk coming out. Jae-hoon was curious about how sincere Byung-hyuk was. Byung-hyuk just playfully revealed that everything would be clear tomorrow. Unexpectedly, the next morning, the planning department was in chaos because of the new employees, none other than the cleaning staff. Jae-hoon angrily went to find Baek-jun and asked if she had instigated Byung-hyuk to do this. But Baek-jun didn't understand what was going on. It wasn't until Byung-hyuk appeared with Uncle Kim that Baek-jun found out about it. But to her, this was a good thing worth praising. There was nothing wrong with it. Although Although Byung-hyuk proposed 3 people, the chairman only allowed 1 person to work. No matter how much he begged, his father wouldn't change his mind, so Byung-hyuk decided to choose 1 person. He followed each person to know about their family background. Miss Ann lived alone with her husband and took care of her husband, who was bored with life. Uncle Lee had an old mother who was always in the hospital and had to pay for the hospital bills. Only Uncle Kim had to work and send money to his ex-wife to raise their children. But even so, Uncle Kim was still very happy, not resenting life. He's sitting at the convenience store, eating while looking at pictures of his children. While Uncle Kim was still feeling guilty about not being able to take care of his child, he saw Byung-hyuk hanging around in front of his house. Byung-hyuk invited Uncle Kim to eat and talked about his plans. Even though Uncle Kim was just a normal employee with a 1-year contract, Uncle Kim was very happy. But everyone has merit, so Uncle Kim can't do that. At this time, Miss Ann and Uncle Lee also came and supported Uncle Kim, which surprised Uncle Kim. All 4 of them were happy for Uncle Kim because he finally found a good job. But after hearing that, Jae-hoon felt uncomfortable at all. How could he let someone who had been retired for so many years work like that? But after receiving Baekjun's compliments, Byung-hyuk was no longer shy. When Byung-hyuk returned to his room, he saw Uncle Kim giving coffee to each person to ask for help. Even though everyone said it was not necessary, Uncle Kim felt that this was the right thing to do. The section chief said that there should be a proper way to address her, so Byung-hyuk came up with the idea of calling Uncle Kim was Junior, which the section chief couldn't stand. Byung-hyuk saw Uncle Kim happily sitting at his desk, and he knew he did the right thing. This morning, Byung-hyuk's mother decided to go out, but it seemed very secretive. She carefully chose her clothes to match the person she wanted to meet. It turned out that she wanted to meet Baekjun, but when she got there, unfortunately, a delivery car drove by quickly. Luckily, Baekjun hugged her and turned away. Otherwise, her clothes would have been splashed with dirty water. The lady felt very satisfied with Baekjun. Baekjun invited her upstairs to change her clothes because her clothes were all wet. The lady immediately agreed. When she got home, she suddenly saw Baekjun's mother making kimchi. The lady greeted Baekjun's mother, but Baekjun's mother thought she was Jae-hoon's mother. Moreover, Baekjun's mother praised Jae-hoon. Baekjun's mother also said that Byung-hyuk always came to stay at Jae-hoon's house, making the lady speechless for a moment. Baekjun, who was standing next to, signaled to her mother, but her mother didn't listen. When the lady went inside to change Baekjun's clothes, she was given a cup of warm water. The lady got straight to the point, asking if Baekjun and Byung-hyuk were in love. Hearing Baekjun say that they were just friends made Madam unhappy. She even got angry and said that if her son had any bad points, she could teach him, which made Baekjun just laugh and not say anything more. Uncle Kim at the company used his experience to give advice to everyone, but no one listened. Byung-hyuk saw this and could only silently look at Uncle Kim with sympathy. Suddenly, the planning department was assigned an important task, which was to make a bidding quotation. After a while of assigning tasks, Uncle Kim was finally assigned to make a report. Byung-hyuk also wanted to do it, but was pulled away by the department head. It turned out that the 2 of them went to the karaoke bar so that the department head could entertain guests. The department head received bribes to change the prices of the company's products. Moreover, the department head was holding a girl in his arms, which made Byung-hyuk very uncomfortable. On the way home, the department head happily bragged about his achievements, but Byung-hyuk didn't care. However, Byung-hyuk remained silent and pretended to listen, which made the department head still happily go home. When Byung-hyuk got home, he saw Baekjun just walking out of the house. He quickly hugged her, but when he heard that his mother came here today, he immediately called his mother. But his mother was at home eating Baekjun's mother's kimchi deliciously. She didn't expect such delicious kimchi. Receiving Byung-hyuk's call made the lady very happy. She was very pleased with Baekjun, but seriously told Byung-hyuk to pay attention to Jae-hoon. Byung-hyuk said that he would engrave this name in his heart and would seriously remember it. That night, the new police neighbor went knocking on doors to give out cakes because he just moved here to live. But when he arrived at Jae-hoon's house, he stayed for a long time and asked very carefully. It turned out that he was transferred to the economic police department. Hearing this, Jae-hoon knew that something was wrong. Byung-hyuk still happily ate this cake. Uncle Kim worked overtime all night, but just seeing his daughter's photo made him forget all his worries. Unexpectedly, when Uncle Kim went to the bathroom to wash his face, he discovered that he had a nosebleed. Uncle Lee saw all of this and reported it to Byung-hyuk. Seeing Jae-hoon still coldly denying Uncle Kim's achievements made Byung-hyuk very angry. He decided to talk to Jae-hoon to demand justice for Uncle Kim, but was unsuccessful. Jae-hoon made the excuse that this was a working company, not a place where he could do whatever he wanted. Lunch had arrived, but Uncle Kim was still eating and working. No matter which contractor he called, they did not want to negotiate and hung up very quickly. Suddenly, Baekjun and his group brought a tray of food and sat down to eat with Uncle Kim. After asking about the situation, Baekjun understood the core problem. She decided that this weekend, she would go with everyone to negotiate directly to help Uncle Kim, which made Uncle Kim very emotional. Byung-hyuk went to negotiate a job with the department head today, but unexpectedly, it was Director Min, which made him realize something was wrong. Jae-hoon finished work at 11 p.m., but looking at Uncle Kim's desk made him stop and think. Baekjun came home and saw Byun-hyuk sitting outside the door, so she ran over. She knew he was drunk because he smelled of alcohol, which was very unpleasant. He wanted to come closer to kiss her, but she refused and quickly left. But Byun-hyuk expressed that he had only been thinking about Baekjun all day, which made her stop. It was almost the day to submit the report to the chairman, but Uncle Kim's report was still missing. Not only that, Uncle Kim took the day off today to go directly to negotiate with the contractor, which made Jae-hoon very angry. Byun-hyuk continued to entertain customers for the food box, but unexpectedly, it was still Director Min. Now it was no longer strange, but had become unusual. Uncle Kim and everyone went to the countryside to win the hearts of the people and ask for a price reduction for organic food. But the negotiation was not as easy as it seemed. The pig farm was having a hard time raising bean sprouts, so Baekjun had to take action himself. Unexpectedly, when she finished her work in the evening and wanted to return to the agreed place, her phone ran out of battery. Everyone was worried because they couldn't reach her. Baekjun waited for the bus for a long time, but it didn't come, so she tried to go to the convenience store to ask the owner. But when she found out it was summertime, Baekjun had to borrow the owner's phone to call her relatives. She dialed Byun-hyuk's number, but he didn't answer because he was busy with karaoke with the department head, so Baekjun had no choice but to call Jae-hoon. Hearing this news, Jae-hoon quickly ran to the address Baekjun gave him. When Jae-hoon arrived, he only saw Baekjun sitting curled up on the ground, which made him feel very sorry. Seeing Jae-hoon, Baekjun immediately ran to hug the warm long-distance car. Seeing her like this made Jae-hoon feel very heartbroken. But after getting in the car, Baekjun explained why Uncle Kim always chose clean food, no matter how expensive it was. After all, it was food for children. Uncle Kim doing this would not feel ashamed of his children. Jae-hoon also gradually understood Uncle Kim's intentions, but when he tried to start the engine, it wouldn't work. He had no choice but to call the rescue team to rescue the car. Byun-hyuk returned home drunk and went straight to Baekjun's room to look for her, wanting to drink together but couldn't find her. He had no choice but to go home. When he went downstairs and didn't see Jae-hoon, he was suspicious. But at this moment, Jae-hoon called Byun-hyuk to tell him that Baekjun was with him and told Byun-hyuk to go to sleep first and not wait for him. But Byun-hyuk was really worried at this moment. He immediately thought about why the two of them were together and what they were doing together, whether they had feelings for each other or not. But when Byun-hyuk thought about Baekjun's personality, it seemed like it wouldn't be like that. If so, Byun-hyuk could rest assured and quickly went to sleep. Suddenly, mother's warning rang in Byun-hyuk's head again, so he felt that the situation was very dangerous and urgent. Although he was very worried but couldn't do anything, which made he very upset. The car was repaired, and Jae-hoon got in the car to go back. He saw that Baekjun had already fallen asleep. He recalled the scene of her sitting in the sunlight of the company and falling asleep, feeling a bit sympathetic. Jae-hoon recalled the scene of him sitting still, letting Baekjun lean his head on his shoulder to sleep, making him a bit moved. When he put his arms around her and covered her with his shirt, he felt even happier. Byun-hyuk waited for the two of them, unable to sleep. Yeon-hee came back and found Byun-hyuk in this situation. In the end, the two of them sat in the cold until morning, to the point that the neighbor had to bring warm water for Yeon-hee to drink. Luckily, Baekjun had returned at this time and comfortably laid down on the bed, enduring Yeon-hee's questioning. Byun-hyuk wanted to ask Jae-hoon about everything, but only saw Jae-hoon reminding him that he wasn't going to work with an unusual expression. This morning was the day to submit the report. Jae-hoon decided to submit Uncle Kim's quotation by all means. This made the department head very angry, but he couldn't do anything. Unexpectedly, when submitting to Director So, Uncle Kim's plan was approved. Everyone was happy to receive this news. By now, Jae-hoon understood that Byun-hyuk wanted to create a picture in which Jae-hoon and Uncle Kim would be the winners. Uncle Kim sent money back to the family and told his children, making everyone surprised and happy. It turned out that Director Min participated in the plan just to help Woo-sung get the photos of Byun-hyuk holding bribes. It turned out that Woo-sung's plan had just begun. The chairman was very angry when he received the news that Byun-hyuk had accepted bribes, so he called him over. Looking at these photos, Byun-hyuk immediately realized who had framed him. The chairman gave him 3 days to prove that he had been framed. If he could not prove it, he would have to leave the company. Woo-sung was afraid that the matter would be exposed, so he tried to stop his father, but his father did not agree. Byun-hyuk told Jae-hoon and Baekjun about this to ask for advice. Finally, he got the consent of the two people to help. Baekjun was in charge of getting those leaked photos, so he had to ask Uncle Lee. While Uncle Lee was cleaning Woo-sung's room, Uncle Lee successfully found those photos and sent them to Baekjun. No matter what Byun-hyuk said, the department head didn't bother to testify. The department head wanted to erase this matter, making Byun-hyuk not know what to do. Jae-hoon stood by and watched these things, making him very embarrassed. Baekjun received the photos sent by Uncle Lee and immediately opened them. Jae-hoon walked over and told Baekjun not to care about Byun-hyuk and Woo-sung, but she didn't agree. Before, thanks to Byun-hyuk, she was able to know the truth about her father, but now seeing Byun-hyuk like this, she couldn't leave him alone. Baekjun went to the karaoke bar that day to find the employee and beg her to tell the truth, but she still insisted on leaving. It was not until Baekjun had to say that this person was very important to me that the employee decided to reconsider. During dinner, Woo Sung asked about Byung-hyuk again because he felt worried, but the chairman only said that I believed Byung-hyuk would not do such a thing and wanted to give him more time. Byung-hyuk's mother was shocked when she heard that. She did not believe that her son would do such things. She ran after her husband to question him, but only saw him smiling. He asked she which son she wanted to succeed and take over the company. She understood that they were all her children, so she just wanted her children to be happy. So she felt that her husband valued money too much. Unable to bear it anymore, she took her shirt and left. No matter how the chairman called, the lady did not return. While Jae-hoon and Byung-hyuk were working, the two received a text message from Baek-jun asking to meet at a snack shop. The two stood up and left without working overtime, making the department head angry. The other employees also stood up excitedly, but were yelled at by the department head to sit down. When the two arrived, Baek-jun revealed that she had been helped by the female employee at the karaoke bar, but it was a video, not a photo. It turned out that this female employee was the one who had dated Woo Sung for a long time, so she understood his personality very well. The female employee showed Baek-jun the wine bottle cap that had been secretly filmed by a camera during the meeting that day, but unfortunately, there was nothing left here, and the video was with Woo Sung. The employee worriedly reminded Baek-jun that Woo Sung was not someone to be bullied, so she should be careful. Byung-hyuk wanted to find Director Min to talk things out, but Baek-jun knew that if he looked for Director Min at this time, things would only get worse. First, they needed to find the video that was recorded that day, but Byung-hyuk didn't know where the video was. It was on the Hello Kitty USB that Woo Sung always carried with him. That day, although Director Min had stuffed an envelope of money into Byung-hyuk's hand when he was drunk, he knew right from wrong, so he returned it to Director Min. After Byung-hyuk thought of many ways to sneak in without being caught on camera, there was only one person left. It was none other than Jae-hoon, but Jae-hoon definitely wouldn't accept doing such a thing. So Jae-hoon angrily left, leaving Baek-jun sitting with Byung-hyuk. Byung-hyuk took this opportunity to hold Baek-jun's hand to thank her for caring for him, but Baek-jun mercilessly pushed his hand away. After Jae-hoon returned home, he coincidentally met his neighbor who was walking out. Jae-hoon wanted to ask what he meant by what he said the other day, but Jae-hoon only received a provocative answer. At this time, Yeon-hee also returned home. The two of them didn't want to talk anymore, so each went their separate ways. Yeon-hee thought that these two people were arguing over her affection, making her blush. Yeon-hee was standing there muttering, not knowing that Baek-jun and Byung-hyuk had arrived behind her, making Yeon-hee feel extremely embarrassed. But Byung-hyuk was very happy when he heard Baek-jun say that Yeon-hee liked Jae-hoon. That way, he would have one less person fighting over Baek-jun. When Baek-jun went upstairs, he didn't expect to see Byung-hyuk's mother there. The lady was sitting huddled up, so Baek-jun quickly took her inside the house. Once inside, the lady wanted to sleep with Baek-jun because she had run away from home. But while the lady didn't find it inconvenient, Baek-jun frankly said that it was a bit inconvenient. Hearing that, the lady liked Baek-jun's straightforward personality even more. She even confided that she used to be a farmer, so there was no problem. While Baek-jun was getting clothes and socks for the lady to change into, she mentioned marriage, which surprised Baek-jun greatly. The lady even emphasized many times that she was not a difficult mother-in-law who would boss her daughter-in-law around. Baek-jun was really embarrassed and didn't know how to explain. Byung-hyuk was hanging around Jae-hoon, not knowing how to start the conversation. Jae-hoon knew that he had something to say, so he told Byung-hyuk to just say it. Unexpectedly, Byung-hyuk wanted to ask Jae-hoon if he had someone he liked, but Jae-hoon didn't want to answer, so he sent Byung-hyuk to bed. Byung-hyuk said that Jae-hoon was his only friend, so Byung-hyuk sincerely wished Jae-hoon to be happy. Baek-jun was having a headache, not knowing how to break into Woo Sung's room, and the lady also couldn't sleep. The lady decided to ask Baek-jun about Byung-hyuk's wrongfully blamed, which made her think of a way. Baek-jun asked the lady to go into Woo Sung's room to get the USB. Early the next morning, the two went to the company and did everything as planned, but the lady came and talked about leaving home, but it didn't make Woo Sung waver. The lady left the room with Woo Sung to eat, but she couldn't find the USB. At this point, Baek-jun had to implement the second plan. Baek-jun asked Miss Ann and Mr. Lee to clean the camera so she could sneak in alone, but Baek-jun was stopped by Jae-hoon. Unexpectedly, Byung-hyuk was there, so the three of them went inside to search. After a while of searching, the USB was finally found in the desk drawer. Baek-jun quickly took out his computer to transfer the documents. Only then did Byung-hyuk know that his mother was involved in this plan. Woo Sung was worried about the meeting, so he asked someone to come to his office to get the documents to prepare. Luckily, Uncle Lee held this guy back, so Baek-jun and Byung-hyuk had time to hide behind the bookshelf. Woo Sung's subordinates were surprised to see Jae-hoon there, but didn't ask too many questions. In the end, everything was successful, making everyone breathe a sigh of relief. Byung-hyuk took this opportunity to express his gratitude to Baek-jun, but she thought that it was only the right thing to do because he had helped her a lot. The two of them hugged each other happily. Byung-hyuk brought the video to the chairman. After the chairman saw the video, he understood the situation. He thought that Byung-hyuk would use this to threaten Woo Sung, but it turned out not to be the case. For now, Byung-hyuk just wanted his father father to cancel the contract with the dishonest companies. That was enough. Through this, the chairman also knew that Woo-sung or Byun-hyuk was the one who satisfied him, so he laughed happily. Woo-sung heard his mother's words about living in harmony with Byun-hyuk, but he didn't care. After Woo-sung knew that he was the loser, he went crazy. The lady hadn't experienced something so exciting for a long time, so she was very excited. She thanked Baek-jun and asked if you had any dreams. For the lady, a smart and understanding girl like Baek-jun, it was a waste to only be a cleaning staff. When he got off work at night, Baek-jun kept thinking about what the lady had said. What kind of person did she used to be, and what she told herself to do? At this time, Byun-hyuk also got off work, so he played with her in the lobby. He didn't know what kind of person he would become if he hadn't met Baek-jun. Byun-hyuk was imagining that Baek-jun would kiss him, so he pouted, but didn't expect to be embarrassed. Suddenly Baek-jun proposed to Byun-hyuk to date him, making him extremely happy. The two played below without knowing that the president was seeing the whole scene. Baek-jun told Jae-hoon that she would date Byun-hyuk. She didn't care about Jae-hoon's feelings and happily left. Hearing this news, Jae-hoon was extremely sad and desperate. When it was time to get off work, Jae-hoon quickly went to the meeting place, but didn't expect Byun-hyuk to be there. Suddenly Yeon-hee also appeared. Jae-hoon gradually understood something. They went together, but only Jae-hoon felt uncomfortable. They went ice skating together, but Jae-hoon chose to sit outside and watch. Yeon-hee took the initiative to invite Jae-hoon out, but the two left, leaving Baek-jun and Byun-hyuk to confide in each other. But after a while, when Yeon-hee was still excited, Jae-hoon frankly said that he already had someone he liked. Jae-hoon hoped that Yeon-hee wouldn't be sad. Although Yeon-hee tried to cheer herself up, she still couldn't, so she could only turn around and leave. Baek-jun and Byun-hyuk went to a cafe to buy drinks. The two were still eagerly thinking about the couple when they suddenly saw Jae-hoon walking alone. The two quickly ran after them to ask, but received Jae-hoon's anger, so they didn't know what to do. Jae-hoon was extremely angry when he got home. He didn't know what to think. Yeon-hee was also very sad, so she chose to go out drinking until she was drunk. Unexpectedly, the neighbor also came back from somewhere and saw Yeon-hee like that, so he stopped by to have a few drinks with her. The neighbor saw Yeon-hee crying on his shoulder and felt sorry for her. Baek-jun and Byun-hyuk still thought that Jae-hoon was abandoned by Yeon-hee, and that's why she ended up like this. When the two of them got home, they unexpectedly saw Yeon-hee drunk and being carried to her room by the neighbor, which surprised them both. Byun-hyuk wanted to talk to Jae-hoon but was sent to bed. Byun-hyuk texted Baek-jun saying that Jae-hoon's condition was very bad, no different from being abandoned. But Baek-jun thought differently. She and Jae-hoon both remembered 3 years ago when Jae-hoon first moved here. Because of her, he chose to stay in this old, damp room. But unexpectedly, Uncle Kim's price list plans were not approved. All were controlled by BS Company. Director Min was just following orders. Byun-hyuk wanted to confront his father directly, causing conflict between father and son. Jae-hoon and Byun-hyuk both had vague thoughts from Uncle Kim's story. Jae-hoon wondered if he could change his fate or not. If he couldn't change, he would forever live like his father and be ordered around by others. But for Byun-hyuk, if he didn't stand up and think of a way to fight, he would have to lose to his father, and the company would never be able to develop. The two people met in the lobby by chance. They looked at each other without saying anything. Each person had their own thoughts, making Baek-jun feel strange in the middle. She broke the silence between the two and stood up to mediate, but no one said anything. They didn't even give in to each other's steps. Luckily, Baek-jun told the two to stay still. Jae-hoon felt that she was being childish, so she didn't care anymore and left. Baek-jun remembered that Jae-hoon was angry the day before, so she told Yeon-hee. But Baek-jun didn't know that everything was just because Yeon-hee thinks he likes her, and Jae-hoon already had someone he liked. Byun-hyuk was angry when Baek-jun didn't laugh and joke with him, but she mentioned that she had quit her job as a cleaning staff because of Byun-hyuk. Jae-hoon heard about the lady, so he had to turn back to ask her. Byun-hyuk knew that his mother wasn't the type to threaten others, so he was very surprised. But Baek-jun exonerated the lady and saying that it was what gave her more motivation to think about her dream. Watching the plane take off also gave Baek-jun more confidence in herself. Miss and sat with her and asked about everything and what Baek-jun's future plans would be. When Miss Ann heard Baek-jun talk about her future plans being what she wanted to do, Miss Ann was very happy. Miss Ann said that Baek-jun was young, so of course she should do that. Then the two of them cried tears of happiness when thinking about the days ahead. Byun-hyuk and Jae-hoon also felt the same. Byun-hyuk blamed Baek-jun for not telling him first. Jae-hoon was jealous when he heard that, causing the two of them to continue arguing. Seeing that, Baek-jun hugged the two of them and thanked them for helping her so much. Then she quickly left without looking back. Byun-hyuk wanted to call Baek-jun but was stopped by Jae-hoon. Jae-hoon said that he could still meet Baek-jun at home. Then Jae-hoon left, leaving Byun-hyuk standing there alone, extremely confused. Woo-sung was called to the cafe by the prosecutor to talk. It turned out that BS Company was the chairman's private fund and was now being watched by the police. The prosecutor wanted to warn the company about this in advance so that they could be more careful. Hearing this, Woo-sung also had his own plans in mind. After last night, Yeon-hee didn't remember anything but calmly carried her suitcase to work. Unexpectedly, as soon as she reached the gate, she met her neighbor. The neighbor reminded Yeon-hee of what happened last night. Especially, he carried her up 3 floors yesterday, and she even joked with him, making Yeonhee blush with embarrassment. But the neighbor said that from now on, she could only get drunk in front of him. Yeonhee was very surprised after hearing that. It seemed like she felt moved. The neighbor only said that and went home. Yeonhee stood downstairs wondering. When she looked up and saw the neighbor also smiling at her, she shyly left. The neighbor found Yeonhee interesting, so he was determined to flirt with her. Woo-sung realized why the video was leaked thanks to his subordinate's report. Woo-sung called Jae-hoon and asked about Ye-hoon appearing in his room that day, but Jae-hoon denied it. Woo-sung decided to call Director Min to confirm some things. At this time, Director Min called a person named Dong-sik to let him start his work. Baek-jun put on makeup and dressed very elegantly tonight to go somewhere fun. Jae-hoon and Byun-hyuk were talking to each other on the way home from work. Byun-hyuk curiously asked why Jae-hoon rejected Yeonhee like that. Could it be that Jae-hoon really has someone he likes? But Jae-hoon didn't want to answer this question. At this time, the two saw the extremely beautiful Baek-jun walking towards them. The two were immediately attracted to her beauty. Byun-hyuk and Jae-hoon heard her say that she was going to work part-time, which made the two feel strange. They didn't understand why she would put on makeup and dress so beautifully to go to work part-time. The two decided to follow her, which was even more surprising. Baek-jun chose to call a taxi instead of taking the bus. They also quickly took a car to follow her to see where her destination would be. A moment later, Baek-jun stopped at the hotel. Not only that, she also stood talking to another man, making Byun-hyuk and Jae-hoon extremely worried. When Baek-jun entered the elevator, the two of them chased after her, but it was too late. Byun-hyuk called Baek-jun. Unexpectedly, she chose to turn off her phone, making the two of them panic even more. The two of them went to the 12th floor to split up and look for her, but Jae-hoon saw Baek-jun being led into a room by a man. The two of them quickly went in to look for Baek-jun, but they didn't see her anywhere, only a couple. They rushed into the inner room, and it turned out that Baek-jun was performing magic tricks to celebrate the birthday of the other couple's child. Baek-jun was shocked when he saw the two of them, not knowing what had happened, and the two of them were embarrassed and left first. The two of them felt very guilty when they saw Baek-jun being scolded by the guest. They heard Baek-jun scolding them, but didn't dare to argue. When she forgave them, they quickly left without daring to say anything more. On this side, Dong-sik went to Jae-hoon's house to do something shady, but unexpectedly got caught by the neighbor. Being questioned by the neighbor, Dong-sik had no choice but to leave. At this time, Byun-hyuk and Jae-hoon were eating hot pot with Baek-jun, but the atmosphere was tense. The two people who were being lectured by Baek-jun could only listen and nod in agreement. At this time, Baek-jun asked about whether Jae-hoon had a love affair at work, making him choke on his water and unable to swallow. Jae-hoon was questioned too much, so he had to say that he hadn't confessed yet, because he wanted to make sure he could take care of that person before he proposed. Unlike Byun-hyuk. Byun-hyuk was angry when he saw that his ex-lovers were being mentioned. He wanted Jae-hoon to be quiet, but he couldn't. Baek-jun knew that she was right, so he stood up and left first, feeling very confused. The chairman had a golfing schedule this morning, but for some reason, no matter how much he begged, the lady wouldn't go with him. She said that she needed this Sunday to rest, so she wanted to stay home. After the chairman left, the lady quickly changed into youthful clothes and started going out. It turned out that the lady came to find Byun-hyuk to have breakfast with him, but Jae-hoon said that Byun-hyuk had gone out early. Byun-hyuk went to the park to find Uncle Lee. Uncle Lee helped Byun-hyuk investigate the BS company. According to Uncle Lee, BS is a subsidiary of Gangsu that was established to evade taxes or make a slush fund. This is no different from the Gangsu fried chicken incident that year that caused Baek-jun's father to quit his job. Byun-hyuk recalled what his father said and thought it made sense, so he thought about it for a while. Baek-jun's mother passed by and saw the lady and Jae-hoon standing outside, so she happily invited the two of them to breakfast. Although Baek-jun wanted to explain that they were not mother and son, she didn't have the chance. During the meal, Baek-jun's mother kept praising Jae-hoon, making everyone present feel embarrassed. In the end, Jae-hoon left when he received the message, so the lady had the chance to explain the misunderstanding. Baek-jun's mother was extremely embarrassed when she found out that the lady was not Jae-hoon's mother. When Byun-hyuk returned home and saw Jae-hoon hurriedly leaving, he understood everything. Byun-hyuk went to find Woo-sung, who was at the hotel with his lover. Woo-sung just threw money to his mistress and planned to wait for Jae-hoon to deal with the consequences. Unexpectedly, the person who walked in was Byun-hyuk. Byun-hyuk warned Woo-sung not to bother Jae-hoon on his day off. The two argued and then got into a fight, making Woo-sung so angry that he wanted to kill Byun-hyuk. Byun-hyuk walked out the door and saw Jae-hoon standing there. Byun-hyuk comforted Jae-hoon that Jae-hoon was his best friend, so Jae-hoon didn't have to do such things. Jae-hoon was very touched after hearing that. As he left, Byun-hyuk remembered the old days when the two brothers were beaten by their father. The two used to say that they didn't want to become like their father. But look at Woo-sung now, he has changed. Byun-hyuk was heartbroken and didn't know what to do. Jae-hoon didn't leave but stood outside waiting for Woo-sung to come out and humiliate himself. Woo-sung walked out and used Jae-hoon's father to make Jae-hoon feel humiliated and then left. Baek-jun's mother immediately disagreed with this relationship when she found out that Byun-hyuk was the chairman's son. No matter how Baek-jun explained, she only considered it a lie. The mother even wanted Baekjun to move away from this place so that she would not be involved with Byun-hyuk anymore. Baekjun's mother left helplessly. At the gate, she met Byun-hyuk walking home alone. Even though he greeted her, she did not respond. Baekjun's mother warned Byun-hyuk not to have anything to do with Baekjun because she was a vulnerable person. The mother was worried that her daughter would suffer again, so she did not want to see that scene happen. After saying that, she left without caring about Byun-hyuk's feelings. He sadly walked back to his room, not knowing what to do. Baekjun above was no better, feeling troubled about this matter. Both she and her mother knew that Baekjun had feelings for Byun-hyuk. Jae-hoon walked to the bar as promised with his father. When his father saw Jae-hoon, his father quickly called him to sit. Jae-hoon said that he wanted to quit his job and wanted his father to do the same. His father kept saying that no matter what, he must not forget the chairman's favor, making Jae-hoon very angry. At this time, his father told him that the incident 11 years ago was caused by Woo-sung, but Byun-hyuk took the blame on Woo-sung's behalf, leaving Jae-hoon to hate Byun-hyuk for 11 years. His father tried to hide it, but seeing Jae-hoon living in hatred, his father couldn't bear it. Jae-hoon angrily returned home and saw Byun-hyuk sleeping on the bed, so he woke Byun-hyuk up. Jae-hoon questioned Byun-hyuk why he kept this secret for 11 years, making Jae-hoon hate him so much. Moreover, every time he heard Jae-hoon scold Byun-hyuk, he acted like an idiot and didn't argue back. But the incident that year made Byun-hyuk feel that his whole family was guilty towards the uncle and Jae-hoon. No one had a proper apology for that incident. Byun-hyuk kept this regret in his heart. Dong-sik had already started to act, but unexpectedly was seen by the neighbor. Dong-sik waited until all the rooms turned off the lights before sneaking into the apartment. Baekjun was still lying on the bed, searching for food and wine. Dong-sik carefully sneaked into Byun-hyuk's house, but unexpectedly the neighbor was following him. After Dong-sik broke into the house and made sure that Jae-hoon and Byun-hyuk were asleep, he started to act. But when Dong-sik found the documents he needed, he carelessly made a loud noise that woke Jae-hoon up. The two shouted loudly that there was a thief, waking up the whole building. Jae-hoon tried to stop Dong-sik, but he was too strong, kicked Jae-hoon down and ran out. Unexpectedly, the neighbor was waiting to get the computer back, but after a fight, the neighbor was injured. Yeon-hee worriedly ran to help the neighbor, while Dong-sik successfully escaped. Byun-hyuk realized that Dong-sik was Director Min's subordinate and was very angry, but now he couldn't chase after him right away. Dong-sik ran away and took Jae-hoon's computer. Jae-hoon and Byun-hyuk decided to create a new world where everyone had their own say. Jae-hoon decided to start with Byun-hyuk, and Byun-hyuk would be the one to end it. Hearing this conversation, Baekjun felt very strange and approached to ask if the three of them could create a new world together. Baekjun was looking at the aurora pictures on the computer and was delighted by its beauty. Baekjun remembered that when she was little, she told her father that she wanted to go to Norway to see the aurora. Dad agreed to take Baekjun along for the summer break. That's why she's been working hard until now. Baekjun remembers the jobs she used to do. She used to do a lot of jobs to earn money. Finally, after much effort, Baekjun decided to give herself a break to travel. Yeon-hee brought her things and said she wanted to sleep with Baekjun because she was afraid of the theft like in the afternoon. Baekjun knew that Yeon-hee wouldn't be working tomorrow, so she asked Yeon-hee to go out together. That night, Jae-hoon couldn't sleep, so he went to see the neighbor. Jae-hoon said that everything should start as planned tomorrow. Jae-hoon didn't know that Byun-hyuk had followed and heard the whole conversation between the two. Byun-hyuk returned to his room, wondering what Jae-hoon was hiding from him. Suddenly, Byun-hyuk heard the doorbell. Knowing that Jae-hoon had returned, Byun-hyuk covered himself with a blanket and pretended not to know anything. Byun-hyuk recalled what Director Seo had said, the feeling that the only way to escape guilt was to take responsibility for the sins he had committed. So the next morning, he went to the company very early to ask Director Seo about Ahun. The neighbor reported the situation to his superior that Jae-hoon wanted to delay the time a bit. The neighbor would follow Jae-hoon, and Jae-hoon would definitely come today. Then the superior agreed and told the neighbor to go. When the neighbor went out, he met a man. He was the superior's senior, but the man's face was very suspicious. After the man asked about the neighbor, he went out and called Woo-sung. The man said that the investigation team would start taking action today. After saying that, the man turned around and left, not knowing that the neighbor was standing nearby and heard everything. Woo-sung was very worried at this time, so he had someone call his subordinates in to quickly discuss the plan. On the side of Director Seo, he stood outside watching the section chief scolding the staff and remembered the conversation with Byun-hyuk this morning. Byun-hyuk asked Director Seo if what he was doing and what Jae-hoon was doing were the same thing. Byun-hyuk asked Director Seo if what he wanted to atone for had anything to do with BS. Director Seo heard that and asked Byun-hyuk back how far he had prepared. Director Seo asked Byun-hyuk what he would do to confront the chairman. Byun-hyuk felt very awkward when he heard that. How did this matter relate to his father? Byun-hyuk watched his father enter the company with everyone bowing their heads, looking very authoritative. But now Byun-hyuk understood that what everyone respected was money, not his father. Byun-hyuk's father was also a person who could destroy other people's happiness for money. Jae-hoon's life was also bought by Byun-hyuk's father with money. While walking, Byun-hyuk saw 4 people talking about going out in a coffee shop. He immediately walked in, grabbed the plan book, and invited them to go out. Baekjun was very excited about games, so she quickly stood up and pulled everyone to start the outing. Their first game was indoor rock climbing. Jae-hoon and Baekjun competed to see who could climb faster, and Baekjun won. Byun-hyuk stood below and cheered for them a lot. But when it was his turn, he couldn't climb 1/3 of the wall and fell down. Then the three of them stood below and watched Yeon-hee and the neighbor act out a love scene above. When everyone wasn't paying attention, someone with a camera followed them, took pictures of them, and reported it to Woo-sung. The second place they went to was an amusement park. While everyone was feeling bored because it was too childish, Baekjun was extremely excited. She pulled Jae-hoon's hand and went out together first. They played thrilling games together. Those pictures were sent to Woo-sung. He felt strange because he didn't know what their intentions were. Then Jae-hoon also found out about Baekjun's hobbies and bought her a strawberry ice cream. That made Byun-hyuk extremely curious. Suddenly, Byun-hyuk received a call telling him that Director Min had just entered Woo-sung's room and seemed very shady. Woo-sung showed Director Min the photo and asked what was going on. Director Min was also surprised and called the photographer to ask him to take a proper photo. But the whole day today, the group of them just hung out, so there was no information. Byun-hyuk remembered that Jae-hoon once said that he liked someone, so Byun-hyuk asked Jae-hoon why he didn't confess. Jae-hoon just looked at Baekjun and smiled. Jae-hoon said that he wouldn't confess if he wasn't capable of taking responsibility for that girl. The lady went to Byun-hyuk's house and coincidentally met Baekjun's mother. The lady accidentally found out that the family was about to move, so she asked again but was mercilessly scolded by Baekjun's mother. Baekjun's mother said that she didn't want her daughter to be involved with Byun-hyuk and his family. That hurt the lady very much. Byun-hyuk pretended to have a stomachache so that Jae-hoon could take Baekjun first. He then drove Yeon-hee and the neighbor. At the same time, Director Min and Woo-sung also discovered that the neighbor was the police officer following Byun-hyuk. While driving, Byun-hyuk received information that Director Min had sent someone to follow them, so he quickly thought of a way to stop the stalker. Byun-hyuk told the stalker to give him the car and drove back to Seoul. At this time, Baekjun called Byun-hyuk to ask when he would arrive, but he said he had something urgent to do and couldn't come. Byun-hyuk told Baekjun to have fun. Byun-hyuk also cried at this point. He wanted to create a private space for Jae-hoon and Baekjun. Jae-hoon and Baekjun watched the aurora together and had a great conversation. Finally, Jae-hoon told Baekjun what he regretted the most, which was that when she confessed he couldn't respond to her. Jae-hoon hugged Baekjun and then turned around and left. When Yeon-hee and the neighbor arrived, Jae-hoon was nowhere to be seen. The neighbor received a text message from Jae-hoon saying that he would go and report it. Jae-hoon asked the neighbor to help keep an eye on Baekjun. While Jae-hoon was driving, he discovered that someone was following him. A moment later, the tracking car drove up alongside Jae-hoon's car. The person in the tracking car was Woo-sung. After that, Jae-hoon was surrounded and taken away by a group of men in black. On this side, Baekjun's group was very worried when they couldn't contact Jae-hoon. Baekjun felt in her pocket and found a memory card. When Jae-hoon hugged her, he conveniently put it in her pocket. Baekjun seemed to realize something and told everyone to call Byun-hyuk. On this side, Byun-hyuk was running to Woo-sung's company to ask what he had done to Jae-hoon, but Woo-sung scolded Byun-hyuk for not knowing who his family was and then turned around and left, ignoring Byun-hyuk's shouting and asking where Woo-sung had hidden Jae-hoon. Jae-hoon was taken to Director Min's place. Jae-hoon was tortured and beaten, but he still refused to say anything. The neighbor's superior was very worried because Jae-hoon didn't come as promised. The neighbor told his superior that Jae-hoon had been arrested and the person who reported the news was the man who entered the superior's room that morning. In the morning, it turned out that Jae-hoon had predicted everything, so he saved all the evidence on a memory card and put it in Baekjun's pocket. The next day, Byun-hyuk brought the memory card to the company and saw everyone taking everything from Jae-hoon's workplace. They said that Jae-hoon had been arrested for embezzlement. Baekjun was shocked after hearing the news and immediately ran to the company to find Byun-hyuk. Byun-hyuk said that he would choose the path that would not harm anyone. Then he asked Baekjun if she believed him. After receiving a trustworthy answer from Baekjun, Byun-hyuk told her to wait for him. He would absolutely not disappoint her. After saying that, Byun-hyuk took the documents and went straight to the president's office. Before Byun-hyuk could enter, he saw Jae-hoon's father anxiously entering first. Jae-hoon's father couldn't control his emotions and knelt down in front of the president to beg for his son's forgiveness. Jae-hoon's father also mentioned that he had previously taken the blame for the chairman's son. Hearing this, Woo-sung got angry and said that if you mention this again, I would deal with Jae-hoon. When Jae-hoon's father went out, he saw Byun-hyuk. He knelt down and begged Byun-hyuk to save Jae-hoon. Byun-hyuk entered the room and calmly begged his father to forgive Jae-hoon. Then Byun-hyuk accused Woo-sung of bullying Jae-hoon, which was why Jae-hoon betrayed. Byun-hyuk took a stack of documents and gave them to his father, saying that they were documents from the doctor. Byun-hyuk pretended not to know the doctor and spoke like an idiot. However, Woo-sung was suspicious and asked Byun-hyuk to tell him the process of how he got the documents. Byun-hyuk took the opportunity to manipulate his father's psychology. Byun-hyuk told his father to spare Jae-hoon so that everyone could see the generosity of their family. His father saw that Byun-hyuk was very reasonable and finally agreed to spare Jae-hoon. In the office, Woo-sung kept reminding his father not to trust trust Byung-hyuk. But the chairman thought that Woo-sung was jealous of Byung-hyuk, so he completely ignored what Woo-sung said. Then the chairman went straight to Director Seo's office. Director Seo seemed to have predicted everything and stood up, ready to leave the company. Byung-hyuk could only silently watch from outside. It was Director Seo who gave the document to Byung-hyuk. He told Byung-hyuk to use it to negotiate for Jae-hoon's safety. When Director Seo turned around and left, everyone felt regretful. Byung-hyuk even bowed respectfully to him one last time. After that, Jae-hoon was released from the police station. His father was waiting outside and advised him not to do such useless things again. If it weren't for Byung-hyuk, he would have gone to jail. In the office, Byung-hyuk received the message and quickly went out. As soon as he went downstairs, he met Jae-hoon. In contrast to Byung-hyuk's joy, Jae-hoon got angry and punched him as soon as he saw Byung-hyuk. Jae-hoon blamed Byung-hyuk for ruining all the plans they had worked so hard to build. Byung-hyuk said that he didn't want Jae-hoon's life to be ruined like that. But Jae-hoon thinks that Byung-hyuk did that to protect the corporation and his family. Byung-hyuk got angry when he heard this and rushed to punch Jae-hoon. Then the two started fighting until Baek-jun came to stop them. Then everything ended. The section chief stood in a corner watching everything and reported to Woo-sung what had just happened. Baek-jun and Jae-hoon went to the park together to talk. She asked him what happened. She was very worried when he disappeared, but Jae-hoon said nothing, which made Baek-jun very disappointed. She had known him for so long, but still couldn't understand him. Jae-hoon used his hand to brush Baek-jun's hair, but then both of them became embarrassed. Baek-jun told Jae-hoon to trust Byung-hyuk once, but Jae-hoon didn't say anything and left. Then Byung-hyuk received a text message from Miss Ann that the section chief was now on Woo-sung's side. Byung-hyuk went to tell the department head that tomorrow there would be an inauguration ceremony and the department head would be promoted to the position of center head. During the meal, the chairman kept praising Byung-hyuk and decided to promote him, which made the LD laugh happily throughout the meal. At night, Jae-hoon recalled his conversation with Byung-hyuk that morning. The two of them fought back then, just following a plan. For Baek-jun's safety, the two also decided to hide this from her. The next morning, Byung-hyuk drove a supercar to the company. Because he had just been promoted, the other employees also bowed respectfully to welcome him. In the office, the department head and everyone else were surprised to see that Jae-hoon, who had been arrested yesterday, had returned to work. The lady was very happy about Byung-hyuk's promotion, so she specially came to give him flowers in front of the jealousy of the other colleagues. Jae-hoon stood outside and saw this scene and was clearly unhappy. He said that Byung-hyuk's position should not be created if he doesn't know how to do anything for the company. At this time, Byung-hyuk slowly walked behind Jae-hoon and told Jae-hoon to go to his room to talk privately. In the office, the two of them acted out a conflict while discussing a plan to avoid being discovered by everyone. Byung-hyuk went in to give the document to the chairman to sign. When he went out, he happened to see his father opening the secret cabinet and stopped to peek. Through the glass door, the chairman saw Byung-hyuk standing there and remembered what Woo-sung said. This time, Byung-hyuk's change was definitely a problem. The lady here brought a lot of branded clothes and handbags to Baek-jun's house to give to her. The lady also gave her a new computer, but Baek-jun said that the gift was too valuable and she didn't dare accept it. Baek-jun's mother sat next to her and said that I hated people who used money to buy affection. If you think you can bribe my daughter like that, then stop. The lady said that this time her son got promoted thanks to Baek-jun, so she brought a gift to thank Baek-jun. After that, the two argued more and more. Baek-jun sitting next to him couldn't stand it anymore, so he stopped them. In the evening, after work, Jae-hoon went to Byung-hyuk's office and exchanged glances with him. Tomorrow would be their decisive day. Baek-jun waited in front of Jae-hoon's house and told him to reconcile with Byung-hyuk, but he didn't care. After that, Baek-jun called Byung-hyuk, but he still pretended to be arguing with Jae-hoon, making Baek-jun not know what to do. After hanging up the phone, Byung-hyuk seemed to have returned to his true self. Even though his father and Woo-sung were bad people, he still loved them very much. Byung-hyuk drank alone at home. Then he hugged his mother and cried and apologized to her. The next morning, the chairman and Woo-sung had an appointment to play golf with a partner. Byung-hyuk and Jae-hoon entered the company together and signaled to the janitors. The two did not know that Baek-jun was also following behind. The janitors spread rumors that Jae-hoon and Byung-hyuk were fighting to lure the secretaries out of the chairman's office so that the two could sneak in. Jae-hoon and Byung-hyuk opened the secret cabinet's password but guessed from one number to another incorrectly. Finally, Byung-hyuk tried pressing his father's birthday and finally opened it. Inside were all the group's secret documents. At this time, not knowing where Baek-jun came from, rushed in and told them to quickly find the documents. Jae-hoon told her to go ahead, but she refused and told them to act quickly. Suddenly, the chairman returned and the people who carried out the plan with Byung-hyuk were all discovered, so they could not inform the two. While the three were struggling with the documents, the chairman and his men rushed in to ask what they were doing. The chairman ordered his subordinates to check if the place where he kept the confidential documents was still safe. At this time, Jae-hoon and Byung-hyuk nodded. Then Byung-hyuk pushed his father down and let Jae-hoon grab the documents and run away. The three of them ran away together with the help of the staffs who stopped the men in black. At this time, the chairman had ordered the entire building to be locked down, so the three of them decided to divide hide the documents. As long as one of the three escaped, it would be fine. The neighbor was also waiting at the door. He seemed very worried. Byung-hyuk was looking for a way to escape when he was surrounded by his father's men. Byung-hyuk advised his father to disclose the subsidiary company and pay taxes properly, but it seemed like the chairman didn't care. Byung-hyuk said that he didn't want his father to do anything illegal, but his father shouted that this property was for future generations. Byung-hyuk shouted that he didn't need it. He asked his father how many more people would have to sacrifice to keep this money. The chairman angrily raised his hand to slap Byung-hyuk, but in the end, he held back. The chairman said that from now on, he would no longer have a son named Byung-hyuk. Byung-hyuk and Jae-hoon were caught, and the chairman decided to deal with them. At that moment, the neighbor came and said that there was a thief here, so he came to investigate. Jae-hoon and Byung-hyuk immediately admitted that they were thieves, so the neighbor handcuffed them and took them away. The documents they took were also considered evidence and brought to the police station. On the other side, while running away, Baek-jun encountered Woo-sung. She was about to take the contract and leave the company when Woo-sung stopped her. Woo-sung saw Baek-jun hiding the contract in her shirt. He and his bodyguards kept forcing Baek-jun to move backwards. Woo-sung asked Baek-jun to hand over the contract, but she refused. Seeing that, Woo-sung shouted loudly. Baek-jun trembled and asked him where he thought he was, so he dared to threaten her. Baek-jun declared that she would not be afraid of him. Woo-sung saw Baek-jun tremble, but dared to say so he burst out laughing evilly. Woo-sung asked Baek-jun to hand over what he wanted. At this moment, the uncles and aunts where Baek-jun worked appeared. They stood to protect her. Seeing that, Woo-sung showed disdain. This made Uncle Lee and Aunt On angry. Immediately after that, many other uncles and aunts appeared to help create a wall, pushing Baek-jun back. After Miss On scolded Woo-sung, Uncle Lee quickly told Baek-jun to leave. Woo-sung saw this and yelled at the guards, and the two sides rushed at each other. Taking advantage of that time, Baek-jun ran to the meeting place with Byung-hyuk and Jae-hoon. Meanwhile, at the company headquarters, the neighbor handcuffed Byung-hyuk and Jae-hoon as planned. Despite the guards and employees' objections, they insisted that their company would not call the police. The superiors also requested that Byung-hyuk and Jae-hoon not be taken away. The company president would handle everything without the police. The neighbor saw this and threatened that if they did not let him take the people away, they would commit the crime of resisting law enforcement. What the neighbor said successfully scared the people who tried to stop him. In fact, the three people were trying to stall for time to wait for Baek-jun to appear. Just when things became tense, Baek-jun rushed over from the stairs. As soon as she got there, the neighbor handcuffed her. Baek-jun didn't understand what was going on and wanted to ask. Seeing that, Byung-hyuk winked at her to cooperate, so the neighbor successfully took the three people away in front of the guards. When the chairman learned that the three people were taken away by the police along with the contract, he was extremely angry. The chairman asked his subordinates to immediately contact the powerful people he had connected with for support to handle this situation. The chairman and his subordinates called them, but were both refused, which made the chairman extremely angry and threw things around. Because the situation was getting worse, Woo-sung tried to call for help. He implicitly threatened the people who had received bribes, asking them to help, but Woo-sung was threatened in return and refused to help because the evidence was too clear. The other party advised Woo-sung to focus on preparing for the court hearing and then coldly hung up. The neighbor brought all the documents about the fake accounts. The list of bribes and the contracts that had been taken were handed over to his superiors. After reviewing everything, the neighbor's superiors were happy because the evidence for the chairman's wrongdoings was complete. At this time, the neighbor hesitantly asked about the case of the three Byung-hyuks, but the superiors remained silent. The three of them were in the detention room. Jae-hoon turned to ask Byung-hyuk if he regretted what you had done. Byung-hyuk replied that I regretted it, but I regretted why I didn't firmly convince my father earlier, so that his father would make many mistakes like today's situation. Then Byung-hyuk also turned to ask Jae-hoon if you regretted it. Jae-hoon smiled and replied that I regretted it very much. I regretted not treating you as a friend a little earlier. Jae-hoon thought that if they had considered each other as friends earlier, perhaps their lives would have changed a lot. After saying that, Jae-hoon and Byung-hyuk smiled at each other. Baek-jun sat in the cell next to Byung-hyuk and Jae-hoon's conversation and also smiled happily. After receiving all the evidence, the prosecution and police rushed to the Gangsu Group headquarters to confiscate all the documents to serve the investigation, while Woo-sung and the chairman watched helplessly. At home, the lady also learned through the news that her husband's company had been searched to serve the investigation of illegal slush funds and illegal foreign capital transfers. She was very surprised and looked extremely worried. Not understanding what was happening, the lady reassured herself and her daughter that everything was just a mistake. At Gangsu Group, the chairman was deep in thought about what Byung-hyuk said. Byung-hyuk said that the behavior of ignoring injustice for money only existed in his time and could not exist in the present. The chairman kept thinking about why Byung-hyuk did that. When the chairman opened the door, intending to leave the group to rest, Byung-hyuk was already at the door, bowing to his father. The chairman intended to pretend not to see him leave. At that moment, Byung-hyuk was surprised and asked if his father would hit him. This question made the chairman go crazy and rushed to beat Byung-hyuk. Everyone frantically hugged the chairman to stop. Byung-hyuk quickly ran away in his father's anger. When Byung-hyuk just reached the lobby, he met Woo-sung again. Woo-sung scolded Byung-hyuk for being crazy. Woo-sung questioned Byung-hyuk if he was happy and satisfied doing so. Byung-hyuk bowed his head in apology, but he thought he couldn't do anything else. And what he did was right. He had to end his wrongdoings so that their corporation could start over. Hearing that, Woo-sung was extremely angry. He asked Byung-hyuk why you dared to destroy everything our father had worked so hard to build. Byung-hyuk was also heartbroken when he heard that. His eyes looked firmly at Woo-sung. Byung-hyuk thought that what he did was completely for the good of his father and the company's employees. Woo-sung was helpless before Byung-hyuk's reasoning. He got mad and scolded Byung-hyuk for a long time. It turned out that Woo-sung was angry because he thought that the corporation he was about to inherit would no longer exist. Woo-sung was afraid that the corporation would belong to Byung-hyuk. After Woo-sung scolded Byung-hyuk for being crazy, he left. Byung-hyuk sadly left the company and met Baek-jun and Jae-hoon waiting for him. When Byung-hyuk saw the two of them, he burst into tears. Baek-jun and Jae-hoon went to comfort him. The three of them hugged each other and smiled contentedly. At the dining table at Byung-hyuk's house, the chairman announced that Byung-hyuk was no longer his son. Byung-hyuk did not know about this. He did not dare to go home for fear of being beaten to death. At this time, the lady called Byung-hyuk. They met at a coffee shop. The lady informed Byung-hyuk that his father would go to the prosecutor's office tomorrow to serve the investigation, and Woo-sung could not go, so she hoped Byung-hyuk would go with his father. Byung-hyuk saw that his mother did not scold him. He bowed his head and apologized repeatedly. The lady saw that this was also an opportunity for the chairman to make amends for his bad behavior, but then she burst into tears. The lady blamed Byung-hyuk for doing that to his father. The next morning, the chairman said goodbye to his wife and children and went to the prosecutor's office. Byung-hyuk was already waiting in front of all the reporters. He was sure that his father would not hit him. Byung-hyuk asked to see his father off for a while, and his father also answered Byung-hyuk that I was not ashamed of what I had done. At least in my time I had done it well. In front of Byung-hyuk's surprised eyes, the father told Byung-hyuk to live the way he wanted because this was his time. The father's words seemed to imply forgiveness for Byung-hyuk's actions. The father did not blame him for doing that. The chairman left to his son's astonishment. Despite the reporter's constant questions, the chairman smiled brightly, bowed, and promised to be honest before entering the prosecutor's office. Unexpectedly, when questioned, the chairman only said that he did not know anything. He also told the prosecutor to work with his lawyer. Looking at the crowded group of lawyers behind him, the prosecutor could only laugh helplessly. After the chairman was arrested, the group changed for the better. The stock price kept increasing. Everything gradually became better, proving that the efforts of everyone and Byung-hyuk in the past were correct. Baek-jun's father also received a decision to restore his honor. Accordingly, the decision to remove his from office for bribery was withdrawn by the Gangsu group. Everyone returned to their daily lives with many positive changes. Byung-hyuk, in his own way, gradually made the working atmosphere of the group's employees more cheerful and comfortable, shortening the gap between leaders and employees. His intention to let employees have the right to buy stocks and be able to directly participate in the management of the company was also being implemented. As long as the chairman of the group agreed, it could be implemented in practice. After going to see a fortune teller, the lady went to Baek-jun. They went to a cheap restaurant and drank soju and talked together. When Baek-jun apologized for what happened, the lady immediately denied it. The lady said that Baek-jun was not at fault, it was the parents' fault, and she expressed her hope and support for Baek-jun to be with Byung-hyuk. Jae-hoon was persuaded to return to Gangsu Group. He thought a lot about it. Standing in front of where he was staying, Jae-hoon remembered the moment he met Baek-jun and was confessed to. In fact, Jae-hoon had always liked Baek-jun, but because he was shy, he lost her. He accepted this painful truth, so he decided to leave and move to a new place. Baek-jun plans to go to London, but she probably hasn't told Byung-hyuk yet. So Byung-hyuk is still busy planning a party to celebrate the 180th day that Byung-hyuk and Baek-jun met. Seeing this, Jae-hoon quickly comes to tease him. Jae-hoon says that I and Baek-jun have known each other for 8 years, so I understands Baek-jun much better than you. After looking at the plan, Jae-hoon immediately criticizes Byung-hyuk for not understanding Baek-jun's interests. Byung-hyuk is angry but can't do anything. Byung-hyuk suspects that Jae-hoon still likes Baek-jun. Seeing Byung-hyuk so worried, Jae-hoon teases Byung-hyuk. Jae-hoon shows that he is still pursuing Baek-jun. Just then, Baek-jun arrives. She has an appointment to see a new house with Jae-hoon and leaves Byung-hyuk alone with the plan. Jae-hoon knew that Baek-jun was no longer in the old place and planned to go to America for a long time, so Jae-hoon decided to find a new place to live. While looking at his house, he also implicitly expressed his feelings to Baek-jun. At this time, Byung-hyuk was very worried at home. He called Jae-hoon to ask about the situation but could not find out anything. While the two of them were having dinner together, after Jae-hoon asked, Baek-jun revealed to Jae-hoon that she would be in London for a year and had no new plans. Currently, she did not know how to tell Byung-hyuk about her plans. Because Byung-hyuk was so worried when he saw Baek-jun and Jae-hoon coming home late, he stood downstairs waiting for Baek-jun. Byung-hyuk was caught by Yeon-hee and the neighbor. Now Byung-hyuk knew that the two of them were dating. After returning to his room, Byung-hyuk immediately interrogated Jae-hoon about what he and Baekjun did together when they went out. Byung-hyuk couldn't find out anything, so he pretended to trust Jaehoon. Jaehoon saw Byung-hyuk's childish behavior and just smiled and declared that he would go back to work at Gangsu Group. Jaehoon's return made everyone in the group happy. As for Baekjun, the day she left for London was approaching. She planned and prepared everything for the trip. She asked everyone to go out to eat, but Byung-hyuk didn't come. Perhaps Byung-hyuk was angry because Baekjun didn't tell him about the trip and let Jaehoon tell him. Baekjun went to Byung-hyuk. She apologized and explained that she didn't know how to tell him, so she had to make that decision. Byung-hyuk heard that and coldly wished her a happy trip. He went home alone, closing the door in front of Baekjun, despite her standing behind him, saying that she would miss him a lot. At the airport, only Baekjun's mother and the lady came to say goodbye to Baekjun. Before boarding the plane, Baekjun called Jaehoon. She promised to live well and enjoy the trip. She also told Jaehoon that Byung-hyuk didn't come to see her off. Baekjun thought that Byung-hyuk might still be angry. After that, she called Byung-hyuk many times, but he did not answer. She did not know that Byung-hyuk had decided to leave everything behind and go to London with her. Until Baekjun sat down, she discovered that Byung-hyuk was also sitting on the flight right next to her. Baekjun was very surprised and happy. Byung-hyuk did not hesitate to express his feelings and determination to pursue her. He declared that the two of them were definitely destined for each other. Then he went to kiss Baekjun. Baekjun smiled as if accepting Byung-hyuk's feelings. The movie ended here. Thank you everyone for watching. Goodbye and see you again.